So.
No, in the...
More about gel coat.
When the fourth round would...
Don't you call in the...
More importantly, he knew what he was talking about.
Oh, does it look good already? Okay. Jumbo Scampi for limited...
All for a price that will make you...
How the hell am I supposed to pay?
This is Rick Simpson, and you're listening to People for People Radio, the voice of truth in Scotland.
Good evening, everybody. It's Alex Burke here. Welcome to the show. Tonight I've got my guest Theresa Stirling.
Hi.
We're going to kick a few things around that are happening at the moment, which I think are of a growing concern to everybody. And let's start off with smart meters. Theresa, what's your feelings on smart meters? Are they a good idea or a bad idea?
Bad idea.
Why? What makes you say that?
Well, I haven't got a smart meter and I'm not going to take one.
Right.
Don't really know too much about them, but what I do know is that they've already been in other countries and the other countries have got them taken away because the smart meters are no British. They're coming from wherever.
Right.
And they're not actually approved by the British trademark. And
right.
if they're no,
the kite mark.
The kite mark. They've
right.
not got the British kite mark.
British
then
standard.
see when if your house went on fire and you've got a smart meter in your house, as far as I'm aware, your insurance could be null and void.
Well, that's a
because you wouldn't be
consideration.
insured. You wouldn't be insured because if it's not British, you know how they're saying if you're buying things from China and all that and it's not been approved in Britain, then or the UK or whatever it is, then you're not covered. So you might end up, I'm not saying that all the insurance companies would do that, but you know what insurance companies are like, they're always looking for a get out clause. And if you've got something in your house that some people say is forced upon you, but at the moment it's not forced upon you, you've got a choice. So by allowing them to put that smart meter in your house, you've contracted with them and agreed to them putting a smart meter. Apart from that, as far as I'm concerned, for me, the biggest issue is that they can click in at any time and listen to you in your house. I was in my friend's and she's got a smart meter, right? And she phoned up the electricity company, and the electricity put money on her meter. And I says, how can you do that? She went, oh, we just go into it. She says, we can check everything on your smart meter.
Yeah.
That's why it's called smart.
Yeah. Well, what I know about it really I got from a lady in the States called Deborah Tavares, and she runs a website called stopthecrime.net. And Deborah Tavares' family had 2 housing estates in the States, and one of them got smart meters in. And after about a year, she noticed that a lot of the tenants were starting to get different problems, like headaches all the time, confusion, short-term memory loss, burning sensations, not being able to sleep at night. And she took the step of taking them all out at her own expense and putting analogue meters back in, only to have the electricity company turn up with the police, remove all her new analogue meters and take them into custody, put new smart meters back in, and box them in little cages so that you couldn't get at them.
No, that's what she must have ignored paperwork. Because in this country, in the UK, well in Scotland anyway, they can't actually come into your house if you've not paid your gas.
No, this is all done. It's all done on the outside over there. They're on the outside.
Oh, they're on the
of the
outside
houses.
of the meter, so they don't need to come into your house, but they still can't touch it.
So she
they
went
can't
back.
come into your property and touch it. They must have got a warrant for the court for the police to be there.
Well, yeah, and they took all her meters, and I don't even know whether she got them back yet. But she went back in with her team, and they put analogue meters back in, and this time they won the court case. But she had a real opportunity to gauge 2 different estates with 2 different types of meters. My concern primarily about smart meters is the fact that they operate on microwaves. And what I've been told about what's been going on so far in the UK is that after just 2 years, some of them are bursting into flames.
Yep.
Different ones are by different suppliers, so if you change different suppliers, you have to get another meter put in. Some of these meters are like masters, so if you've got a whole chain of flats, there'll be one at the end, which is a much stronger signal than all the others because it sends all the information for that block back to the power company. And these things are untested, really. This is a huge social experiment because we've never ever had a situation where there's that many electromagnetic microwave devices putting out microwaves at a level which the last research I read was that we were being subject to over a million times the background microwave radiation that used to exist before radio came along.
Wow. I mean, that's concerning, but the other thing that's concerning is that they're in your house and you don't know that you're being spied on and monitored with everything that you do. So every conversation you have in your house could be getting picked up on a smart meter and translated everywhere.
I think that's already happening.
Yeah, of course.
With your smart telly and your phone.
Yeah.
And your computer.
Yeah, but they don't tell people that.
No.
They're not out there telling people, if you buy this smart meter, by the way, I'm in the house with you. And even when you turn your telly off, I can still get access to your camera in that television. I can switch it on and off anytime I like.
Yeah, because it's the Internet of Things.
That's a breach of privacy.
It's all breaches. They're all breaches of privacy. The unfortunate thing for most people is that because they accept the terms and conditions on so many things without reading the small print, we're actually given permission.
Yeah, well, that's the same as your computer, isn't it? If
Absolutely.
you give it the computer and it says if you want to go further, you have to accept the terms and conditions. And if you don't accept them, you can't get in them. And it's even the same with the bank.
Yeah.
You don't even know what you're accepting. But before you can go any further, you've got to accept it.
Yeah, or you don't get to play.
You don't get play.
That's it. It's a Trojan horse. What about 5G? What do you think about 5G?
Well, there was a guy on a few weeks ago with us, me and Joan, and he was talking about 5G, and he was saying that his kid's health had deteriorated since he'd moved from one house to another, and there was a 5G light right outside his door, and what he done was he went and took the 5G, because there's like a transmitter at the top of it.
Mark Steele?
Mark Steele.
Right.
There's a transmitter on it, so he's been fighting it down, I don't know, down in England.
Gateshead.
He's been fighting it down there and he's still in the courts with it. And as far as I'm aware, the other boy that's with him, he's been getting grief. But this is what you find, Alec. If we're trying to tell them something's bad for us, they just assume that we're just rebels. And it's not that we're rebels. This is detrimental to the general public.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the population, even themselves, their kids, their grandkids, their mothers, their grannies. Everybody's being subjected to all of this 5G radiation, and we don't know anything about it.
That's right.
It's not been tested, and that guy took it off. And in fact, my wee granddaughter she's been different from my son moved from one house to another, and I don't know if there's a light. Right. You know that big
smart light?
I don't know if it's a smart light, but her behaviour, it's very bright, but her behaviour is changed phenomenal since they moved to this house. It's like
night and day.
Night and day, you know. So I'm going to actually go up there and find out if that light is causing her any harm. But I've looked and I can't really see a transmitter on it, so I don't know if it is a smart meter. But it's supposed to be affecting the majority of the population who have got smart meters outside their windows. Yeah. Why are they putting smart meters, big bright lights in front of people's houses either? Anyway, why not choose the garden? Why have they got to have it where the bedrooms are?
No, it's well, one of the things I've read about the new lighting, which is LED lighting, is that they can actually use it in the same ways as they use these X-ray type machines in the airports, and they can actually see what people are carrying as they walk down the street, because the different wavelengths.
See, I think the X-ray machines in the airports are a breach of your basic human privacy, because they see your whole body.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And they're zapping you.
And there's that me at the same time. I
But
think
yeah.
it's horrendous.
But you're not getting on the plane
You know,
otherwise.
Yeah, but what the people should they say? We're not going on your planes unless you take them away. And they would take them away overnight. If the people refused to go on the planes, they would soon stop the crap.
Yeah, I think that the problem is that people don't have an opportunity to discuss these things and get together, because everybody is so under the hammer all the time that whilst they agree that things are wrong and we shouldn't be doing them, it's so often it's necessity and we need to just get on with the day, and we don't get the chance to get together and have an adult discussion. We're basically told this is happening and this is when it's happening, and get on with it, like it or lump it. And as you rightly point out, anybody that actually starts to ask serious questions about it gets vilified.
Oh, definitely. I mean, we've had people, see when we were doing the bedroom tax years ago, we had people coming up to us in the street and saying, I would love to help you, but I'm scared in case they stop my benefits. And I'm saying they'll come for your benefits anyway, mate. This was back in 2013.
Yeah.
2012, 2013. And what are they doing now? Taking everybody's benefits away. I tried to tell them that years ago, they'll come for them anyway.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing with the universal credits. You know, what did the budget day the other day? Put billions in just to alleviate some of the problems as and when they appear, because they know it's going to be an absolute headache. You know, I was speaking on the radio the other night, and there was a guy on, he was getting evicted, right? And he'd went to the tribunal, because it seems that they've taken him out of the court, and it went to a tribunal. So the tribunal granted the decree for his eviction. Right? So he was saying that's no right. And I was trying to say to him, well, you're in somebody else's house and it's a private let. Now, if they need to take that house back to sell it, or they need to take it back to live in it themselves, then by law they're entitled to do that. And when you go into a private rent, this is the thing that people think, if they go into a private rent, they're secure and they're safe. They're not secure or safe.
No.
You know, you're not even secure or safe in a social housing anymore.
Well, it's not even social housing now, because the last that I saw of documentation from the DWP at Glasgow Housing benefit section was that the GHA were classed as private landlords.
Yeah, well, that's right. I raised that as an issue in the courts, because I says to the court, because I was helping somebody in court years ago, and again it was a GHA and a wee wife who was getting evicted and all the rest of it, and the judge says, are you telling me that you, in your opinion, GHA are a private landlord and they're no a social housing? I said, GHA is a private organisation.
Yeah, it's not an association. It's a limited company. It's a non-profit.
Well, here, no, see this non-profit crap, that does my head in. Absolutely does my head in. Non-profit, all we need to do is add up a few bills and see the extra money, just invest that somewhere. So it's not that they're a non-profit. It's the same as the council tax. The council tax had billions and they put it into the Icelandic Bank and the people lost the money. How the hell did Glasgow City Council manage to lose any money in the Icelandic Bank? They were telling people that to put the council tax up because they had no money. So how did they need to put it up? Because what they done is they took all the excess and put it into investments. Instead of having the excess, they actually had a deficit.
Yeah.
So
I think the misunderstanding about non-profits is that the big benefit for people in the corporate sector is, you know, if you're classed as a charity, then you don't have anybody looking for tax returns. You don't have any shareholders looking for, you know, returns on their investment. And you've got an opportunity as a registered charity to stick a begging bowl out.
And fritter the money away elsewhere. Push your wages up.
Well, absolutely. I mean, and the expenses. I mean, the GHA in 2012 was worth about 125 million quid. And in 2016 it was 550 million pounds. So the asset value of that company has quadrupled in 4 years, when the whole reality of the stock transfer and how it was put across was that local people were actually going to be involved via 33 local housing organisations, and they would have been in charge of what went on in the area and the spending in the area. by these local housing organisations, and there was millions spent on training up 33 groups, but it never happened.
No, of course it never happened. GHA bought the houses off the Glasgow City Council. Glasgow City Council took all their stock and sold it to GHA for £1. I'm pretty sure if anybody had sharped your door and asked you, Al, do you want to buy your house for £1? You would have took that opportunity to buy that for £1. But no, what they done is they created an offshoot to themselves, because anything, it's all going really through Glasgow City Council, as far as I'm concerned. I don't believe it's just an arm's length company. That's a load of codswallop. It's not an arm's length company. Glasgow City Council still, as far as I'm concerned, pulling the strings and telling everybody what to do. Every single penny goes through Glasgow City Council.
Is this individuals within Glasgow City Council? Because the council, at the end of the day, Glasgow City Council is a corporate entity. You know, somewhere in amongst all of this, if you've got a non-profit business, you still have to have a board of directors. There have to be people there who are named.
But remember,
as the
Glasgow City
responsible
Council, we didn't
individuals.
have the guy that was a drug dealer. The druggie, and he had to...
Careful
Well-
now. Allegedly.
What do you mean allegedly? Get charged?
Oh, all right then.
He lost his job because of it. So they put it out there. It's history now.
Yeah.
But the problem I see, Al, is this is no mainstream media. Mainstream media is full of crap. There's nothing in it of any substance whatsoever. Nothing. Anything that's of substance is in the underworld, really. Like us talking about it now. Talking here on...
I don't know if I like underworld.
But do you know what I mean? It's like they don't put
Real
it in mainstream.
world, what
The real world, the real world. Well, we're in the real world, but people think we're not in the real world. People think that we make all these stories up.
Yeah.
Every single story I've ever brought has been printed somewhere by them. But the problem is the general public, like us, don't buy papers. And if we do buy papers, they buy the Sun, the Daily Record. They're tabloid papers full of crap.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
they don't buy the
Comics.
posh papers.
They're
You know?
comics. Yeah.
They don't buy like the Daily Express or whatever big paper would. Used to be the Herald was one of the top notches, but that's not even there anymore.
Yeah, I don't
You've got like the Observer and all these kind of things. Who buys Observer? Do you know anybody that buys Observer?
No. I
Well,
don't,
neither do I.
actually, you know, I don't see many people reading newspapers now other than really elderly people that go in and they've done it for since time immemorial. Buy the papers, go back, have their breakfast, read the papers.
Not surprised, I still know my sister-in-law still buys a paper every single day. Sometimes she buys two.
Yeah.
And I still know loads of people that still have got that habit. My sister doesn't buy them because her new neighbour across the street buys them and she puts them through my sister's door. But other than that, my sister would buy a paper as well. She reads them every day.
Yeah.
But they recycle now. You know, no everybody goes and buys the same paper anymore.
Well, I think what people are becoming more and more aware of what I like to call a complete betrayal of trust.
Oh yeah, you couldn't trust them at all.
And it's very, very difficult, especially for older people, to believe that individuals that we've classed as more knowledgeable or authority figures because they've got some title before their name or some letters after their name aren't being as straight and upfront as they should be. None of them.
No, they're not.
And then we come to this problem that the crux of this problem is there's only two types of people in the world, Theresa. There are truth seekers and there are believers. And truth seekers will always change their opinion based on the latest current available evidence and opinion. And sadly, believers won't move no matter what you tell them. I think it was Mark Twain that said, you know, it's much easier to fool people than to convince them that they've been fooled.
Oh, I
especially for older people to start looking at the world and think that, you know, so much of what they've been told is just basically untrue. It's frightening for them.
Of course, and they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Well, it's not any different to us when we first learned. When we were first learning this, when I was first getting into all this stuff, I thought Billy was nuts and David. I really had them. I said, they'll come and take you two away and lock you up. They'll put you in a straitjacket, they'll lock you up and throw the key away. That was what I said to the two of them, you know. And right up until I went to the meeting after they two had got arrested, and if it hadn't been for me going down south and spending 2 days. And honestly, Al, when I went there, I really expected it to be full of people that were just, shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that, and kitted out with denims, trainers, you know, no respectable. I just thought they were going to be just people who didn't want to work but wanted a free ride, you know. And that's not what this site's about. It's not a free ride.
No,
you can't,
not
if you're in a house, you've got to pay. If you're electricity, you've got to pay for the things that you've got to pay. And Billy was saying, oh, Theresa, you're wrong. We shouldn't be paying for electricity. Electricity belongs to the people. And Billy and I went to a meeting, and Billy says to one of the councillors, he went, the electricity belongs to the people, mate. And they said, yes, but what's happened is that our government have sold our electricity to England. And gas.
And the oil.
And the oil, right? But Billy said it's our electricity, belongs to the people. Yeah. Everything belongs to the people. It can't belong to anybody else because it's only the people that can produce it.
Yeah.
You need the people, you know? Well, and then Nicola Sturgeon comes on and says, oh no, we'll no sell Scottish Power. That's right. We'll never sell Scottish Water, she says.
Scottish Water,
we'll never sell Scottish Water. That's right. Scottish Water's a name.
Can I just butt in, folks? Can I just butt in?
Uh-huh.
Aye, I'm getting asked to ask you to slow down when you're speaking, Theresa.
Alright, okay.
Aye, I've only been trying to message you for about 5 minutes.
Alright, sorry, I'm just going
that. We've got people in from New Zealand and stuff, you know, so they're finding it a wee bit difficult, yeah. Okay, leave it to it.
Okay. Sorry folks, I forget that I go on a rant. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the UK have sold the Scottish Water, the Scottish Power, the gas, all the utilities, and most of the revenue coming from these goes down south. Then they send some of it back to us. That's awfully good to them when they've stole all our revenue in the first place, Al.
I think it's happened all over the UK. I mean, really, all the resources of Great Britain have ended up in the hands of capitalists. They're only nationalised industries when they're making a loss. You know, the moment they start to make a profit, then they get sold off. And we just had the Royal Mail sold off again when it had turned over a £400 million profit, and then it's off in private hands. We had the TSB, which is the Trustees Savings Bank, which belonged to the trustees, sold by darling Margaret Thatcher for £4.5 billion. Mm-hmm. Because the problem is that when you have these people who are non-productive, the bean counters and the scribes and all the rest of it, the only way they can make any money is to steal it from some source. And that's what's going on at the moment. We're living in what is essentially a very wealthy country, very resource-rich, very skilled, and yet we're told in Scotland alone there's 6,000 war veterans that don't have a house, and God knows how many other people are homeless. And now that we've got what you started the conversation with regards to universal credit, if I get this right, does that mean that everybody that would normally have had their rent paid for them is going to be given that money to pay the rent themselves? The way that it works, the way that they're planning on it to work is that the universal credits, you will be entitled to just say, they're saying that you're not going to be able to have more than £26,000 in your house a year, right? So that's a cap. So they've put a cap on how much benefits you can get in your house. Right. They've also put a cap on how much benefit you can get for children. So today you've got 10 children, okay? And today you get your benefits for those 10 children. Right. Okay? That won't stop. Okay? However, if you break that claim for your 10 children, right, and you go to work and you no longer qualify for tax credits, when you go back, if you lose your job and get made redundant, which is quite possible, happens to a load of people, absolutely, then what happens is that you will now only be allowed to claim for 2 children, even although you had 10 children prior to them introducing that legislation. Yeah. It's the exact same as the bedroom tax. The bedroom tax, when you had 3 rooms, you automatically, if you were on benefits, you automatically qualified for housing benefit. When they brought the bedroom tax in, you no longer qualified
for all of the housing benefit. But that wasn't the Tories that brought that in. That was the Labour that wrote that policy in 2007. They wrote I can't remember the legislation, but I'll get it put up. But they wrote the 2007 Housing Act, and in that it said no longer will you qualify for all housing benefit.
Yeah.
If you're in a house that's too big.
It beggars belief. It beggars belief to think that, if somebody, God help them if they get 10 kids, but if somebody's got 10 kids and the government decides that they need that amount to live on, how can they take 80% of that away and not expect to be causing all sorts of problems for that family?
Well, that's the plan.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
It's not supporting the family, it's quite the reverse, isn't it?
No, well, what they're saying is, if you want to have 10 range, you have 10 range, but you need to go and work and provide money for them. I don't know anybody who could get a job tomorrow if they're unskilled that would pay enough money for 10 children.
Well, or 2 children.
So even if you say we had 10 kids, right? Even if we split up, we take 5 each, right? Yeah. We're still going to be in 2 houses with
2 kids,
and 3 kids that you're not getting any money for.
Yeah.
That's just going to cause havoc everywhere. Yeah. And the problem I see with the universal credits, the biggest problem is that the housing benefit has been cut. Loads of landlords, and that's where that boy ended up the other night. He got taken to court to get evicted, but what he was saying was, look, he took me to court to evict me. I'm in a private rent. He took me to court to evict me, not because he wants to sell his house. It's because he wants to get me out it and then rent it out again at a higher rent.
Yeah.
And take him out because he's on benefits.
Yeah.
So that's what loads of landlords, and I know landlords who have actually done it, that they're taking the people who are on benefits out because they anticipate that they're going to have a headache, because when universal credits comes in, and it will be in, they're talking about it being in for 2019 in most areas, Al.
Yeah.
And when the universal credits comes in, if I went tomorrow to claim, tomorrow I would get the benefits that the government say I need to live on, which I must add doesn't cover the biscuit bill, right? They're going to give me my rent, they're going to give me my council tax, and I've got to go and take my money along and pay the factor. I'm going to be giving that council more money than I'm actually getting to live on.
Yeah.
Right, so I would get, say, on average, £73 a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
My housing costs are £120 a week. Why should I be paying for a roof over my head, which, as far as I'm concerned, is government based, and they're charging more for their rent for a house that they bought for £1, and I can live in 73 quid? Who's talking? It's just no right. But the biggest problem is, I can't go and say, right, I want my universal credits, and I want you to just pay the rent and pay the council tax like you've always done.
So
I can't do that.
They're going to give people the money, the cash.
Yeah. But
and people are so it's their own recognizance then, that it's their responsibility.
It's your responsibility.
Then, right?
It's not my fault. You can't pay your rent. I give you the money.
The weakest people in society, the people with addiction problems, and there's lots of different addictions.
Oh yeah.
Well, they're just going to spend it.
Of course. Yeah, they're going to get like what? Instead of getting £73, you're going to get like £250 a week.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're going to have to take most of it to put into housing or council tax, and you're left with a measly wee bit of money that's supposed to pay you. The factor gets 120 a week, and your council tax on average is about 35 to 40 quid a week on average. That I've
See, my understanding was that the whole idea of direct payments was to protect the less capable people in society from doing their brains by spending all the money they do.
But it's okay, Al, don't worry. Because see, after they give you the first month's rent and you spend it, you can then ask me to pay it to the people direct. But you've got to get into arrears first. And not only do you have to get into arrears first, it's taken them on average 16 weeks, apparently, to deal with your universal credit claim in the first place. So guess what you're going to do, as far as I can see, is if you're the 16 weeks in arrears, and I'm giving you 16 weeks in arrears, you've got all that money, and you've been living on nothing for 16 weeks, and you've got to go and get to the factor or get to the council, or are you going to do it, as you say, if you've got an addiction, whether that be drinking, gambling, smoking?
It's a terrifying
alcohol,
prospect.
it doesn't matter. It's horrendous, absolutely horrendous.
It's great business if you got to get busy evicting people, getting bailiffs and sheriff's officers involved.
Yeah, well, that keeps the system running.
Courts involved, and then I guess what happens if somebody's evicted? I take it there's some responsibility to rehouse them.
Yeah, well, that's the other problem. If somebody gets, no, because they changed the law on that one as well.
Right.
If you now get evicted through your own fault, they're able to say, well, you've done that to yourself. You see, it's like me with my son when we took him to court and we had to evict him because he couldn't get his housing benefit. And when we went to the court, and I'm saying to the court, no, he cannot leave, because if he leaves the house, he's voluntarily made himself homeless. And if I evict him, I'm breaking the law. And the judge is like, no, that can't be. I say, well, that's the law.
Yeah.
You know? So if you don't pay your rent and it's your fault you get evicted, I'm not bound by law to rehouse you. Yeah. It's your own fault. So what they're trying to do is push all the systems and issues that they created, because they created these systems.
Yeah.
As far as I can see, it's just they're only protecting themselves. Jobs for the boys, I call it.
Absolutely.
You know, jobs for the boys. So I'll give my brother a job, my sister a job, and you know, they're all getting thousands and thousands of pounds a year. You know, I worked in a charity one time, Al, and I was absolutely disgusted because all of them were on more than £30,000 a year.
Except for the volunteers.
Except for the volunteers.
Except for the people
well,
in the
I
area.
did it for free, so did my friends.
Absolutely, yeah.
And one of the ladies charged for going to IKEA to buy something for the unit. And I'm like, you what? And she went, well, I spent half an hour. I said, but I thought you were going there anyway. And she said, well, I was, but I had to spend an extra half hour.
Expenses.
Expenses. These expenses are phenomenal. So, you see, I used to think, like, Nicola Sturgeon or whoever would be the First Minister, it was Alex Salmond at the time, right? And I used to think he was getting less than all these quangos that he was paying, and I couldn't work out why would me, the top of the tree, be getting paid less than I'm paying you, you know, because I'm the one that's employing the sheriffs, I'm the one that's employing the financial ombudsman, I'm the one employing all these government bodies that have been put in place to protect the public, and they're not protecting anybody but themselves. Yeah. And I couldn't work out why would me at the top of the tree be getting paid less than I'm handing out all yours. Atos is a perfect example. £375,000 a year he was getting, wow. And Nicola Sturgeon was getting in that like 250,000. I wrote to him and said, here, you're paying him more than you pay yourself.
Yeah.
But that's not what it is, Al, because see when you're in that role, that's not the only job you've got. You're getting money elsewhere. She's also an MP, so she's picking up 2 wages. That shouldn't be allowed. You should either be one or the other. You shouldn't be having 2 jobs like that that's paying thousands of pounds.
No.
Could you claim your expenses if you go to work?
No.
No, the taxman doesn't let you. Well, how the hell are they claiming?
It's two
expenses.
Sets. Two sets of rules.
2 sets of rules. Well, what's the people doing about it? They're sitting back doing nothing.
I think people are so programmed, so conditioned now, that they don't know what to do about it. They don't know what the answer is. Yeah, absolutely, that's part of it. But there isn't any real opposition. It's you know, this is Punch and Judy politics. You know, they're all in the same camp. They're all getting their dough. They're all getting their expenses. Nobody's going to rock the boat.
No,
nobody's standing up for ordinary people. And anywhere in the West, or maybe with the exception of Hungary at the moment, but I don't see any political creed doing anything positive where people actually feel things are better than they were. Everywhere I go, people see things getting worse all the time. Now, if we go back to 2008, when it was the big subprime con,
Yep.
We were told at the time that the UK had an outstanding national debt of £850 billion. And because of that, we had to start, to tighten our belts, and they were going to take £1 billion a year off essentially the poorest and most needy people, but it had to be done. And Gary and I were looking at the national debt last week, and it's now standing at 2.1 trillion, and going up at a rate of £5,190 a second. Now this is compound interest in action. This is just playing with numbers. But the point is, the billion a year that they were trying to save with over 850 billion in debt was a drop in the ocean to begin with. But if our national debt in the last 10 years has almost trebled, where's the solution?
Get rid of all the politicians, but that's the problem. There's the problem. You and I couldn't go and be a politician, right?
No.
I went through the system to see how it worked. And I get told I failed vetting. Nobody asked me a question. Not one person asked me a question. And I wrote to them and said, how could I possibly fail vetting? Nobody asked me a question. They said, oh, you need to promote this and you need to do that. So really what they needed me to do was to go out and promote what they were wanting to do, and I had to do what they said. I couldn't
listen to the people you're supposed to represent.
Couldn't listen to the people I'm supposed to represent. I was only to do what they... And you can't get a meeting with any politician without telling them what your questions are before you go.
Yeah.
So the answers are already preset. So you see, I'll see when they did the Better Together programme for the independence fiasco, because that's all it was. It's just a puppet show. It's a puppet show, honestly. You've got Labour, Tories, SNP and Lib Dem. They're the four main political parties, right?
Don't forget UKIP.
UKIP, well, yeah, okay. So UKIP, so we've now got 5, right? Doesn't matter. They wear different colour coats. We have got a meeting every single year. Every year, the heads of the states come together in the Bilderberg meetings to decide what's going to happen in the world for the next year.
Yeah.
So that's a one world government.
Not just heads of state. I mean, that's all the chief executives of
yeah, of course,
major
but it
organisation.
Yeah, but it's still all the same people, Al.
Yeah.
And even if you got all the wee placards, because we've got all the placards, and at the very bottom of the placards on the wee right hand side, it says part of the One World Organisation. Yeah. So you see, they are all in it together, and that's right. We are all in it together. Remember the slogan? They just forgot to tell the people it wasn't them, it was the politicians. Do you know what I mean? It's disgusting, absolutely disgusting. So how do you get rid of all of them when they're the ones that's creating the problems? They're the ones that's doing what they're doing, creating the problem for the people. I think that possibly they're trying to get civil war.
I don't know. It's very, very difficult. I don't know whether they're just getting more and more desperate to create things to keep themselves busy, because they don't have any solutions here. There is a solution now.
Tear it down and start again. Tear it down and start again. They've made an absolute codswallop of all of it.
Yeah.
So they want to go back to the drawing board and get some common sense.
But this is
They're as thick as mince.
But this is where we come down to, that would require people to make sacrifices and to give up what they've already got their hands on. And if you're a politician,
they haven't got anything now.
Well, they've got their expenses, their pension. You know, party politics at the end of the day for me has always been an issue, because nobody wears two hats. If you're going to be a member of a party, then you're going to sing to their tune, or you're not in the party.
I'll disagree with you.
Yeah?
Yep, I'll disagree with you, because I've got an MP who's my MP. He's SNP. His wife is Labour.
Yeah.
Nicola Sturgeon is SNP. Ruth Davidson is Tories. Her partner's SNP. So they're literally in bed with one another. So
yeah, but the point I'm making is that any politician toes the party line at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, they do what they're told.
You know, I think it's hysterical when they talk about having a free vote in the government, and it's called a conscience vote.
Aye, right. There's no vote of conscience. If they had a conscience, they wouldn't be able to do what they're doing.
Well, you know,
I don't know how they can go to bed at night knowing that what they have done has put people in the street. Well, there's a higher power than us here on this planet. There's a higher being than we are, Al.
Absolutely.
And you know something? I have
watching.
been protected all my life by a higher power. And what I needed just happened to come the night before I needed it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, my pal used to say, Theresa, you'd fall in the Clyde and come out with a salmon.
Yeah.
Because whatever happened bad turned out to be good in the end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what I thought was... So there is something higher than
Coming
us.
back to you, I watched a chap the other week called Gabor Mate. He's a Hungarian surgeon, Canadian. He went to Canada when he was only when he was young, and he talks about addiction, and he says that the worst addicts are the politicians and the likes because they're addicted to money and power.
Yeah.
And that they are the emptiest people of all. And they're never going to create a better, fairer world because they don't give a bugger.
No, they're only interested in themselves. What they can get with this fiat currency, we don't even have money, Al. You know, it's just the fiat currency that they've introduced to let you go and exchange with other people. So you take in your pound and you buy a loaf.
Yeah.
You can't get a loaf without a pound.
Okay, fiat currency as opposed to real money.
There isn't any real money.
Yeah. Just for the listeners, if anybody doesn't know, you know, real money with regards to paper, like an American dollar, if we go back in time, used to be exchanged for a gold coin. And when we no longer have that, now we have banknotes, which are promissory notes. They promise to pay you, but not with anything tangible, just more pieces of paper. And the value of those pieces of paper isn't linked to something that's tangibly valuable like gold or silver. It is literally just a promise.
Of course.
And throughout history, there have been 421 fiat currencies, and eventually every single one of them has gone down to zero.
Yeah.
And we can see that happening now when you go into the shops now. Prices of just ordinary groceries go up at ridiculous amounts, you know. 10, 15, 20% increase, you know, from one month to the next on different goods, which at once upon a time would have been unacceptable. And that's the sad part of it, that people that have managed to save a few bob don't realise that the value of that money that they've got is being eroded by the constantly increasing retail prices.
Yeah, and they want to hold on to it.
Yeah, and it's
You know?
and it's just becoming worth less and less.
I spoke to somebody a couple of weeks ago, and it was an older couple, and they saved up, you know, and then say they would save up whatever they had. Just say for talk's sake, it was like they'd saved up £100 or £200 or £300. They would get to a point, and they would say, the man would say, right, somebody must need that for something now. So they would save up to help their kids, and then they would go and see what one of their kids needs. You know, what we've got in this country is that, you know, I get paid and I pay my tax on it. Because I go to work, I get my wages, I pay my tax, right? You get paid, you pay your taxes, okay? You go to the shop and you buy something. You've already paid tax on the money that you're going to the shop to spend, and when you get to that shop, you get taxed again.
Yeah.
And you get somebody to come in and do work in your house, and you give him your money that you've already paid tax on, and he also gets charged tax on that same money.
Yeah.
They're taxing the same money over and over and over again, and people are just accepting it.
And income tax in the UK was only originally introduced to help with the war effort against Napoleon.
That's what it should still be. There shouldn't be income tax for
people. It was never repealed.
No.
And it's my understanding that you're not allowed to tax people's labour.
No.
Which is exactly, you're only supposed to be able to tax their profits. And that's not what's going on.
That's the government sitting back and doing nothing. But listen, I'll see, when I went to college in 1992, the first lesson I learned in that college was in the economics class, there isn't a government, there isn't a queen. It's the banks, it's the big investors that run this country. That was back in 1992. Yeah. And I'm like, what? I couldn't believe it, to be honest with you. And it took years and years and years for me to get my head around that. And one of the accounts classes I was in, it was like, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. They says, no, you need to flip it because the bank does it back to front. The bank do it wrong.
Yeah.
Everybody else, a debit's a debit and a credit's a credit. No with the bank.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, they missell things, don't they? You know, we missold £43 billion worth of ridiculously.
And who's held accountable? Nobody.
Nobody.
If you had to go and defraud somebody for £4,000, you would be held accountable.
And who owns most of the companies that are paying the money
The
back?
same financial investors that are putting it. It's a scam. I see these repayments. I believe these repayments are just a way of injecting money into the economy to kickstart people going and buying. If the government come along or anybody comes along and gives you £1,000 tomorrow, what are you going to do with it? Stick it in a bank for 10 years or spend it?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to spend it. You give a millionaire £1,000, you stick it in his bank because you like to see the bank money.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the day. I'm looking forward to this day, if it ever happens. I'm looking forward to the day that the bank initiate their buy-in system that they've now got. So if you've got £200,000 in your bank, right? The bank have written a legislation whereby I'm the bank, you've put your £200,000 in my bank, and I've got a buy-in system. So if there's a war and I need your money, I'm only going to allow you to have 100,000, and it doesn't matter how much you've got over that. I'm taking it because I need it for the country.
Right.
So I'm taking it. So I'm looking forward to that.
Seizure of assets again.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that, Al, because that's the buy-in, and anybody can go and type in bank buy-in system, and that's what it is. And you know, by you leaving your money in my bank, you've agreed.
Well, the moment it goes into the bank, it's not your money anymore.
That's it. It belongs to theirs, and you borrow it out.
What you've got is you've got a debtor.
Yeah.
And it's certainly the whole bail-in. You're talking about the bank bail-in that they set up in 2012.
I know this is a new.
Right, because the bail-in is.
Well, it might be 2012. I don't know.
Well, no, back in originally we had the bailout of the banks when they all got into trouble when they used all the people's money.
Yeah, but they should have used the people's money and paid off people's mortgages.
Sure. The problem is that in 2012, 12th of December actually, the Federal Reserve Insurance Scheme and the Bank of England decided that if, God forbid, the bank should get into trouble again, it wasn't fair to come back to the taxpayer for another bailout. So the new proposal was called the bail-in, and basically the idea was quite simply that the people that were depositors in the bank were going to take the hit. And that basically that's what's been set up worldwide over the last 5 or 6 years, ending I think in 2017 at a G8 conference when the last piece of the jigsaw really was that they downgraded people's money in the bank from a creditor's point of view from first place to number 4, which is the equivalent of you putting money into gamble in the stock market.
Yeah, but you don't know you're doing that.
No, absolutely not.
People think their money's safe in a bank.
Yeah, and that's because they removed all the restrictions between retail and investment banking.
Oh, it's okay.
And allowed banks to gamble with other people's money and then lose it.
Yeah.
And then throw their hands up and say, oh, it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's staggering, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's,
and people don't know it. People cannot see it, but there you go, Al. You said they've talked about it. You see, nothing happens without them telling you about it.
Mm-hmm.
They tell you everything.
Absolutely.
They Twin Towers coming down, if you put a $20 bill a certain way, you can see the Twin Towers coming down.
Yeah,
right?
You can do a lot with American currency. Yeah.
Yep. Look at the accident in Glasgow city centre, right? That truck going into that hotel.
Right.
The year before that, there was a film made, and a dump truck had an accident, not going into the hotel, but just right at the side of George Square.
God.
Everything is in the movies. Everything is there. They tell you before they do.
You think we're in the Truman Show then?
Yeah, they don't do anything without telling you.
Yeah.
They tell you everything. No, my fault. You didn't pick it up. I told you what I was doing.
Yeah.
I told you. You're all right. It doesn't matter if you've got $1 billion. I'll protect your 75,000.
Oh,
That
yeah,
if we're going to protect you, because they'll give you £75,000.
Well, that's the bank guarantee scheme. I found that was interesting because, you know, first and foremost, it never occurred to most people that banks would get into trouble, and then suddenly to have all the banks writing to all their account holders, and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pounds spent on radio adverts to tell you your money's safe. Right?
Your money's not safe.
Not all of it. Originally it was 75 grand, which incidentally at the time was the equivalent to 100,000 euros, which was the figure that they came up with when the Cyprus banks had the initial, that was the beta test to see how people reacted. So they shut all the banks at a bank holiday and then they didn't open them again. And this is problem, reaction, solution. So within days, all the people were on the streets rioting, and then the banks came out and said, listen, if you get less than 100,000 euros in the bank, you've got nothing to worry about. And 99% of the people said, oh, that's okay then. Mm-hmm. But I thought, this might be okay at the moment. But for people that had more than that in there, initially they took a 3% tax, and when they got away with that, they took 17% more of their investors' money, and then they actually took 40%. So some people with a lot of money invested in Cyprus banks lost 60% of their money, never to be seen again.
Yeah, well, the majority of the population, right, are like you and I. You know, you live from one week to the next.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You know, something might happen and you get a wee bit more, so you're a wee bit more flush or whatever. But on the general, you live from week to week. What I see coming back, Al, is you're not even able to live from week to week.
No, people
are
get
living. When
jobs,
do you get your money? Al, you get paid on a Tuesday. All right, going to give me a tenner until Thursday, and I'll pay you that back. Yeah. And then next Tuesday, I'm back tapping you. You see, we're on this spiral that we can never get off. You're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and that's the majority of the population.
Yeah.
Even people that are working.
Oh,
you know?
Absolutely. There's no rewards for trying hard now. They punish people that try to stand on their own feet. They don't want independent, free thinkers. They don't want that
not at all. No, robots.
They want everybody to be dependent on the nanny state.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we've got, a nanny state.
And when we're talking about the amount for the bank guarantee scheme, you'll notice that as the pound dropped against the euro, that they came back and said, now it's £85,000.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then they changed it, because they came back and said, oh, we're going to give you £85,000. But by the way, if there's two of you and it's a joint account, whereas before you would have got the 75 grand twice, you're getting a maximum of 150,000. So they've still managed to claw back
some of that
20 grand.
But that's people's money that they've worked all their life.
But why do you think they did that? Because I believe that they did that because all the people that have got real money, as soon as Cyprus happened, moved their money out of the banks. And what the banks were concerned about was all the little investors taking their money out, because that could have caused them big problems. I'm thinking Northern Rock or something like that, where there's a run on the bank. And
here, Northern Rock even robbed the government. Yeah. Northern Rock even robbed the government, and the government knew it. Yeah. That Prince, what's his name, Vince Cable.
Yeah.
It was all over. And what was that Tory guy before? David Cameron. He said one of the documents I've got was like an exocet had ran through the bank. Because what Northern Rock, what the government thought they were buying when they bought Northern Rock was they thought they were buying the mortgages of the people.
Mm-hmm.
What they actually bought was a percentage of the mortgage of the people. It wasn't even 5%, it was 0.5%.
Yeah.
So all they were getting was 0.5%. So if I paid £500 into the mortgage company, or whatever I paid, £480 in the matter, all the government received back was 0.5%, a total con.
Yeah.
But the government allowed them, and they're still allowing them today, to get away with it. So the same people that have got the people screwed to the wall have also got the government screwed to the wall.
Sure, and in many ways I feel party to it. You know, there's collusion everywhere now.
They're as guilty, see for sitting back, Al. You're as guilty is the man who done it when you sit back. You and I go to court.
I would say more guilty.
Guilty.
Because at least the one that's perpetrating the crime is getting something out of it. It's the others, the ones who see these things going on, maybe assist, maybe don't actually take any of the money themselves, and feel that their conscience is clear. Because there is nobody in the political arena, as far as I'm concerned, or working within these housing organisations, or working within the judiciary, or working within all the various
the council mortgage
doctrines.
lenders, the
There is
financial
nobody who can possibly think that everything is above board. So what they're doing is they're keeping their mouth shut because they've got really good wages, they've got really good hours, and they've got a great pension coming in an early retirement as far as they're concerned. So it's going to be a big shock to them. The last figures I saw, I think there was about a £7 trillion hole in the pensions fund.
Of course they're going to steal the pay here. Look, what did they do a couple of years ago? Oh, when you get to 55, you can take all your pension, okay? Mm-hmm. That did two things. It allowed all the posh folk to get all their money out before the government stole it, or whoever stole it, and it gave the Treasury 40% tax for the people who took it. So it was, for me, a double whammy.
Yeah.
Because the majority of people who could take it did take it, and they just had to pay tax. But you better get 60% of your pound is nothing now.
Yeah, well, what it comes down to, I guess, if we go back in time to when Maggie Thatcher came along and destroyed the manufacturing base of the UK, in 1983, Nigel Losnick was Chancellor of the Exchequer at the time, and he lifted all the restrictions on foreign investment, and overnight, £186 billion left the UK for China, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Indonesia, anywhere where there was slave labour essentially, but it was British money that was, so they exported all the manufacturing jobs, and what we were left with, as Thatcher talked about at the time, was we were going to exist in a service economy. And I remember in 1983 at one point there was an independent financial advisor for every 200 people in Great Britain, because there were no real jobs anymore. People weren't mining any resources anymore. People weren't processing, they weren't manufacturing. Nothing was being made that you could class as generating real wealth. So it all had to become paper wealth, whether it's people selling tickets. I mean, you can't even buy a ticket for a rock concert now without paying 10 quid for a booking fee.
Well, that's
they
right.
literally just make these things up as they go along.
You can't even buy a school lunch for your children in school without a Young Scot card.
Yeah.
I went up to the school the other day and I tried to pay for my grandkids to have their dinner every day, right? Because I think one's smoking, so I'm not buying fags for them, right? Mm-hmm. I don't smoke, and I'm not going to encourage her to smoke. So in order to try and stop her from smoking, or no smoke my money anyway, I went into the school and I said, right, I don't want to give them lunch money.
Yeah.
I know they don't want to go to school, lunches, but tough. So I went into the school and I says, how can I get my grandkids, you put money in an account and they can get their dinner on a daily basis. And she came, all right, no bother, that's fine, no problem. Came out and she went, oh, they need a Young Scot card. I says, well, I don't think they've got a Young Scot card. And she says, well, we don't really have a facility to take the cash without them being able to swipe a card.
Yeah. I
said, are you kidding me on, hen? There must be some way for me to be able to pay to ensure my grandkids are able to get a meal.
Yeah. It's
in
amazing.
the end, she sorted it, and you know what she said? Well, they can do it. It just takes a wee bit longer.
Yeah.
Because they've got to key in a code.
I just wonder what all the people who are busy being replaced by machines, like I'm thinking of Tesco's and Asda now, where
self-service, I never use them all.
But there's actually staff there training people, showing people how to use these things. And essentially, you know, maybe not much of a job anyway, but it's something worthwhile to do. And I'm quite sure that the people that run the organisations would much rather have automated 24/7, don't need to pay them any wages, assistance than real flesh and blood people. So it begs the question all the time, as everything becomes more and more automated, what are they going to do about all us useless eaters?
Poison the food that we're eating.
They're doing that already.
They're doing that, of course they're doing it. But they're blatant about it all. Well, you know, the chemtrails, everywhere you go there's chemtrails.
Yeah.
I was at my daughter's last week away at the Scottish borders and I thought, oh good, there's no chemtrails. And 10 minutes later, the chemtrails were there.
Yeah.
You know, I think we should all get a mask and start walking about with a mask on our face.
I think it would be wise, actually, for the levels of aluminium in particular that's in the air now is a huge concern, and we've seen, a quadrupling of Alzheimer's in the last, 10, 15 years. And I believe that aluminium's implicated in that. I know that over in the States, what I'm trying to think of, that there's a fantastic place in California with this mountain. Can't think of the name of it now. But when they initially checked the freshwater lake in this mountain, there was 2 parts per million of aluminium in it. Now it's miles away from any cities. But once the geoengineering started, there was something.
Which geoengineering?
It's spraying the skies, right, to protect us from global warming. No, it's got geoengineering. It's geo being, the Earth, the planet.
Oh, right.
And the idea was that it's to stop global warming and to reflect some of the sunlight back by putting these various particulates
I don't believe in global
into the
warming.
atmosphere.
I think it's a load of crap.
Well,
I think it's them.
I don't believe that anybody really at the end of the day has got a handle on what's going on in this reality that we're in. But certainly people like to believe that they do, because if they've got no credibility, then they don't have a job.
No, that's true.
And we're back to this business of, we live in a world now where honesty is a commodity, and it's gone out the window now. People, whether it's through greed, whether it's through fear, will take the king's coin and repeat whatever it is that they've got to say, and then keep their conscience to themselves. There's very, very few people who are operating in big organisations now who are being open and transparent or honest.
Well, that's not necessarily true, Al, because I remember working in Prudential, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I always wanted to work there. I used to pass it, and I thought, that would be a cool place to work. Anyway, about 2 years later, I got a temp job in it.
Right.
Lovely big building, investors and people, all this nonsense. And when I went to the job, I wasn't allowed to talk to you sitting across from me.
Mm-hmm.
I had to send you an email.
Right.
And I said, what? You kidding me on? So I phoned the agency and I said, here, I can't work here, this is a concentration camp. And see, when I left, I wrote to their boss and I said, you have got a cheek to be getting the slogan, investors and people. That is a concentration camp. You're not allowed to talk. You've got to put your hand up and get permission to go to a toilet. I said, well, chase yourself.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be there for 6 months. I don't even think I lasted 6 weeks. I said, stick your job up your backside, I'm off.
Yeah, well, this is down to this whole service industry thing. I mean, now we've got so many call centres which are essentially human battery farms, really.
But I would say
there are
that
people who are sitting in these desks. 97% of their working day they are sitting at a desk with a telephone.
I've worked in a call centre now.
Right, well, in 2011 the Chartered Society of Physiotherapists finished a 3-year study where they found to their horror that sitting for just 22 minutes caused damage to the body that you couldn't redress later on by going for a run that night. Mm-hmm. It actually caused lasting damage.
Mm-hmm.
And the way around it really was to allow people a little bit more freedom, a little bit more responsibility. They only need to get up and have a wee move around. They only need to get their calves working to pump the blood back up. But people aren't trusted to be capable and do their job.
In a call centre, you wouldn't be allowed to do that.
Well, but it's insulting, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, to assume it's a bit like this country we live in, where everybody essentially is a criminal now, except they haven't caught us yet. Whatever happened to the whole idea?
Innocent till proven guilty.
Well,
no, you're guilty till proven innocent.
Apparently, 1% of people are responsible for the crimes, you know, and another 1%, or maybe the same 1%, have got all the money.
Yeah, but that's because you've got all the followers going, oh, that is a good idea. Like that Section 38, right?
What's Section 38?
Section 38 of the Criminal Justice Licensing Act, right, is in place of a breach of the peace. So, like if you were shouting out in the street, the police would come, they'd arrest you under common law, right, and take you to court for a breach of the peace.
Right.
Right? You go to court, you get whatever happened to you, whatever they've set up, right? The police had to prove you breached the peace.
Right.
Okay? So as far as I'm concerned, if I get arrested for shouting in the street and there's nobody there, whose peace did I breach?
Yeah, no victim.
There's no victim, right? So that's as far as I'm concerned. But Section 38, all I need to do is shout in the street, and one person comes in and says, I was putting fear alarm for my life.
Fear and alarm, right. When was this introduced?
That's I can't remember, 2000, Robert, I think it was before 2016, because they used it against my son in 2016, and I had to go and check it to find out what it was. As far as I'm concerned, and I've already raised it with the Scottish Government, right, and I told them that is a being abused by the police, because some charges should be under common law breach of the peace, but what they're doing is they're making most of them under Section 38, because a Section 38 is a guaranteed win for the PF. Right. So all he has to do is bring somebody in to say, I was putting fear alarm. Okay,
so if you're in a situation of feeling alarmed and fearful by another party, then they're guilty of a crime?
Yeah.
So what about all the people that are being put into situations of fear and alarm by the Glasgow Housing Association?
Yeah, we should use that against them. We should use that against them, because you are intimidated. You are putting under fear and alarm.
It's terrible.
But try going to a cop shop and putting that charge out there, because what would happen is that it wouldn't be allowed, because the cop shop wouldn't accept it. I've already been. I got evicted last year, and I went to the cop shop and said, they broke the law, they've committed fraud because they've done this. And they said, nothing we can do about it.
Yeah. So we're back to the rules.
I went to the court and I tried to take a lawsuit against them, and the Court of Session refused to accept it because I needed a signatory. That means I've got to go into their office and say, well, one of you sign this against your pal. It's like I keep saying now, they come into your house, you know, this stranger comes into your house, your front door, and they're saying, Al, your son has done ABC. And you go, did you do that? No, Dad, I never did that. Who are you going to believe? I'm a complete stranger in your house. You're obviously going to take your sons. So that's all they need to do. Get one of their pals to come in and say, I was putting fear alarm. You know? Whether you're putting fear alarm, I don't need to touch you. I don't need to attack you. All I need to do is raise my voice. I must be putting people in fear alarm all the time, because I'm always shouting.
I'm terrified. I'm getting the police.
But you know what I mean?
But this is us back to where's the honesty and everything now? Where are the people that operate with some sense of, dignity and doing their job as they were supposed to do it?
But they are doing their job as they're supposed to do it. My job now as a police officer is to bring in so much money and tickets to pay for my wages.
So you're a revenue generator.
Of course I am.
You're not a peace officer anymore.
No.
We're back to the whole corporate thing.
Yeah, of course.
I've heard that over 80% of public services have already been corporatised, albeit by setting up a variety of
limited companies,
non-profits. Yeah,
of course.
And
the police force. What is it? Scotland. Police Scotland is a private organisation.
Yeah.
We took it into court. Billy took it into court. It was listed in Dun& Bradstreet.
I think they all are now, councils as well. Everything's a business.
Everything's a business. It's all for money.
Yeah.
They're not doing it for the general public. But it's the public that needs to stand up, Al, and say, we're not having this. You know, we'll get, let's say, maybe 20 people, 100 people.
Yeah.
You ever seen 100 people together, Al? There is more than 100 of us.
Yeah.
You ever seen them all together?
That would be unlawful assembly as well, of
We
course.
would get arrested for conspiracy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very dystopian now, isn't it?
Here did they not bring a law that if more than 2 of you, it could be deemed to be a gang?
It's a gathering, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's an unlawful gathering.
And then when you go for permission, they don't give you permission.
And you've got to give them 20 days notice.
Yeah, but they're not going to give you permission. It's the same as the MPs. If say we wanted to create a political party, right? We've had enough of yous all working together. We want the people party, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to go and get a people party. You can't have a people party without permission. And you've got to go to the same thugs who are running the country to get permission.
Yeah. No much
to have a
of
people
that.
party. I'm not going to give you power to come into my house and throw me out.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? After I went down, I checked it all out.
I've been around, 62 years now, and I've never known a time like this when so many people are so angry, disillusioned, let down, but don't have a voice because, as you say, it is very, very difficult to create anything that people can gather around. You can't get control of the media. So many people are living essentially in fear. They've got to keep their job because if they don't pay their rent or pay their mortgage, they're going to end up homeless.
Another statistic.
And they I believe an awful lot of people bury themselves in Netflix and a whole host of other things just to get some short-term joy in their life and some release from the anxieties that everybody's feeling. Well, and it's very hard to see when things are. So obviously the vast majority of people are very unhappy and nobody's tackling it. We've got this gang that carries on just trundling over the top of us.
No, but it's okay, we give them the happy pills.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, my niece said, Auntie Theresa, I need to get one of my happy pills. And I says, what do you mean, Hen? What's the happy pill? Oh, I get this depression and I get my happy pills. I said, well, I don't know why you're taking happy pills, Hen, because they don't make you happy, you're sad. So why are you taking happy pills? They don't make you happy, you better throw them out the window.
There's Prozac.
I don't know what it was she was on, but I told her to throw them out the window. I went one, see when I had Robert was okay, but see when I had David, I went to the doctor and he said, oh, you've got postnatal depression. So he gave me these depression tablets and said to me, you need to get rid of your husband. I was like, what? And I went up the road and I says to Billy, well, the doctors gave me depression pills and said I've got to get rid of you.
Yeah, I mean, that's another issue. I think in the last, certainly in my experience, 2012 was really a turning point for me because I was pretty much in the system up to then. And now I wouldn't go anywhere near a doctor's because the more I've looked into the pharmaceutical industry, it's like peeling the layers back on an onion, you know. The more layers you peel back, the more it brings tears to your eyes. And I've gone fairly deep into it, and it seems that pretty much all the research that comes out that tell us that these various drugs work are all actually funded by the people who are selling the product in the first place.
Of course that's.
And really that's, you know, again, I believe there's, I think there's 550,000 different prescription medicines now. And if you look in the inserts and the little leaflets that are inside the boxes, you'll find that they tell you that these things are toxic and there's a whole list of side effects. And probably as an engineer, the most surprising thing for me was to read that they don't even know how they work.
No, well, here's a classic.
They say, whilst we don't know the modus operandi of this, we believe, and belief is really belongs in faith and religion.
As a lawyer told me before, they can believe anything they like. They can believe pigs fly in the sky.
Yeah.
Their belief is neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But here's a classic. I went yesterday because my wee grandson's got eczema.
Right.
So his mum said his wee skin was getting blotchy. So I went up, she says, go and get Moo-Goo out the chemist. I went up to get the Moo-Goo. There wasn't much there, but it was £4.90 for a bar of soap.
Yeah.
But remember, I've only got 73 quid a week.
Yeah.
Do you think I can afford £4.90 for a bar of soap for my Wayne? So no, here, hold on a minute, that's a bit OTT. I'll go to the pharmacist and see what they've got for prescription for this kid.
Yeah.
So they gave me a cream and they gave me a bottle of stuff to put in his bath. And all over it, caution, highly flammable.
Oh, great.
Don't put your Wayne near a fire. He's 3-year-old. And they're giving that to you to put on your Wayne's skin. I took it home and I'm saying to my son when he came in, I said, they gave me that. You can't use that!
Yeah, that sounds pretty bad.
Fire.
I do know personally that that's something that works really well with eczema and psoriasis is hemp seed oil.
Aye.
Really effective, not just topically, but actually taking it.
Yeah,
taking a couple of spoonfuls a day. And you can get pure hemp seed oil now from places like Tesco's and Waitrose. It's called Good Oil. And it's 100% pure hemp seed. There's no THC or anything in it. And it's used for people to drizzle on salads and maybe do some light frying with.
Yeah.
But it's got all 20 essential amino acids and it's got omega-3, 6 and 9 in exactly the right proportion for human
Well,
consumption.
the doctor should be using this oil for people.
The
You
problem,
shouldn't have to go to a shop and buy it.
for sure, but doctors are involved in what's called allopathic medicine, and what allopathic medicine means is that they give you drugs not to cure you, but to deal with the symptoms until such times as your body's capable of repairing itself.
And how's it going to do that when you're taking their medicines? My sister's on about 20 tablets, maybe 30 tablets a day.
Terrifying.
They must be counteracting. I keep saying to her, look, that can't possibly be working with that drug.
Well,
See, when Billy was no well, the doctor said, I'll give you a just-in-case box. And Billy says, I don't want your just-in-case box.
No.
Everything he gave us a bottle of morphine, just in case. I mean, you read the label and the label for the morphine, it says not to be taken if you've got a heart condition. Billy had a heart condition. Yeah. And I says to him, that says not to be taken with a heart condition. He went, yeah, but it's okay. How can it be okay when there's a warning saying no to take it if you've got a heart condition?
Yeah, well, I saw an example of that the other day because, my mum's got problems with her heart and she's also got low blood pressure. And one of the things that she's been on for a while now is a thing called a beta blocker. And it transpires that people with low blood pressure and low heart rates shouldn't be given beta blockers because it essentially slows everything down. And then I discovered that the European Medical Agency had produced a report, which has pretty much disappeared now, that said between 2013 and 2018, 800,000 people Europe-wide had died through misprescribing of beta blockers.
Oh my God. I mean, that's horrendous.
It's terrifying. As a matter of fact, some people believe that misprescribed pharmaceutical drugs, polypharmacy is what the consultants and the likes call it. Polypharmacy is based on the principle that all drugs are tested individually on young, fit people, but nearly 70% of drugs are given out in combinations to frail elderly people, and there's never been any testing done on there. So there's a real issue that I believe pharmaceutical drugs are the 4th biggest cause of death in the UK now.
Pharmaceutical drugs?
Yeah, and
they're still letting it continue.
But 6 of the top 10 companies in the world are pharmaceutical giants.
Yeah, of course they are.
So we're up against it always round, aren't we? We've got things in the air. We've got problems with the water supply. Now, there's no question of that. There was a study finished in the States a few months ago where they found that 43 million people in America had drinking water that had anywhere between 40 and 56 pharmaceuticals still in the water after the treatment works.
Oh my God. So you would recommend filtering the water then?
Absolutely. 100%, you know, tap water, just with the levels of chlorine that's in tap water now, it's a real worry. It was always understood that you shouldn't be able to smell chlorine from your tap water. A few years ago, after they changed the pipes in our street, I could smell it all the time. And I phoned up Scottish Water and I said, yeah, I can smell chlorine from my tap water. And she said, oh, that's not a problem. What you need to do is fill a jug, put a tea towel over the top of it, and stick it in the fridge for an hour until the chlorine dissipates, and then it's fine to drink it.
What?
Yes.
Now, what if you had kids that was going in there just taking a drink of water at the tap?
Yes.
They're not going to wait an hour.
Of course they're not. Of course they're not. And then because you know we had filter bottles for a while and we were giving them out, and we met a Scottish Water inspector in Byers Road one day, and I said to him, here, can you smell chlorine from your tap water? And he went, nope. And I went, wow, you were bang on there, you were fairly confident. And he said, we've all got, and I don't know whether the we was just the Scottish Water inspectors or, I don't know, more people that work for Scottish Water, but he said, we've all got full inline filtration systems coming into our houses. So they're taking the chlorine out before it even gets into the house, which means that not only are they not drinking it, they're not cooking with it, they're not bathing in it. And the biggest danger of all with chlorine is showering, because the chlorine that that can damage you orally is 50 times more dangerous if it's in a vapour.
So is there something that you could put in the bath to reduce that? Well, you couldn't do anything with the shower, but
well, yeah, you can actually. There's a whole load of shower heads now that you get them on eBay. I think they're about £12, but they've got various filters in the head, so you just replace the whole shower head,
right? And
it filters out the chlorine and a lot of other things before the water
what about
gets
the bath
to you.
water? Because I take a bath because I've got that arthritis, so.
Pass. You would really need to be.
What about my Epsom salts?
That would probably help, but at the end of the day, you really want to be filtering the water, all of it, when it's coming into the house.
So how do you get an infiltration system in there?
Well, it's called an inline filtration system.
Inline filtration.
So there's a variety of ways of filtering the water. But to have one
okay, also, I know it's my house, so I would need to pay for that myself.
Yeah.
Right? What about all the people in council houses? Why are the council not going out putting inline filtration systems in
because
so
they
that
don't,
they're not creating health problems?
They don't believe that the water that we've got these days is a problem. It's as simple
Based
as
on
that.
what?
Well, based on research that they bring out with what they believe to be acceptable levels of various chemicals and contaminants that are found in the water.
Which they change all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they make the rules up as they go along.
As they go along. That's what they do even in the courts. They make rules up as they go along.
It's the amount of chlorine in the water now is absolutely terrifying. What got me looking into it more was I know friends that live in high-rise multi-storey flats, and in particular, they were telling me that they were changing the water in their aquariums and the fish were dying.
Well.
Yeah. And the worry is that what's going on is that there's a chemical called chloramine, and chloramine's a banned additive to the water supply, but there's no regulation that stops water companies from adding chlorine and then buying ammonia and adding it at a later date and essentially creating chloramine again, which is a biocide. What biocides do is they literally kill cells, living cells.
Right,
now,
here's a question.
When I spoke to Scottish Water about it, they said, yeah, but it's only killing tiny little things. And I said, yeah, but you're made up of 10 trillion tiny little things. You know, we need to get away from this idea that we're a meat sack. We've got at least 10 trillion living cells in the body. They're divided up into 200 different types. And they've all got to get on, and they've all got to be nourished properly. And the moment you start killing them off, you're going to run into problems. So what we've got is a slow, very slow poisoning going on. But it is happening. There's no way that the water is anywhere near as good as it used to be.
Do you think that's why the elite live to such a ripe old age and the majority of the people, like us, die younger?
No.
I mean, Billy was only 58 when he died.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem for most people is stress. And it's stress caused by usually lack of money. Now, when people are stressed and when people are under fear, they move into part of their functioning called the sympathetic nervous system response. Now, what that was there for, what God created that for, was to give you an opportunity to be able to fight or run away
Fight or flight.
from a threat. And the way it works is that the brain releases cortisol into the bloodstream. It goes to the muscles. All the blood in your body runs out to the muscles because you perceive a threat. That cortisol then has got to change into either adrenaline to help you fight the threat or noradrenaline to help you run away from the threat. Since most people's threats and fears and worries are inside their heads rather than outside, where they can tangibly deal with it, after about 20 minutes, that unused cortisol gets dumped into the bloodstream as fat. And that's what clogs people's arteries. It's got nothing to do with eating saturated fats. That's one of the biggest red herrings ever. Talking about wealthy people again, you will not find very, very wealthy people that live on a low-fat diet, but they live to a ripe old age because they're not clogging their arteries with unused stress hormones. And they won't address it as an issue because 99% of the people are stressed out because they don't have enough money, they don't have enough resources. So the sensible thing to do would be have a more fair redistribution of the wealth system.
That's exactly what they said.
They ain't going to let that happen.
No.
So what they have to do is they have to blame you for your ill health. Then it becomes your personal responsibility.
Well, that's true, because see, when I go to the doctor, it doesn't matter what I go for, the first question is, how many fags do you smoke?
Yeah.
I don't smoke. How much do you drink? I don't drink. What, you don't drink and smoke? No, I don't drink and smoke. You see? Oh, now they don't know what to blame anymore because I don't drink and I don't smoke, never have done.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I used to drink loads of water, Al, and I stopped drinking it because it didn't taste as nice. And I don't drink bottled water because the plastic has got estrogen or something in it. It's very dangerous.
So many issues with bottled water, not, even the point that they're not tested to the level of tap water.
Mm-hmm.
So many of the bottled waters are actually acidic, and as you rightly pointed out, the vast majority of them are in plastic bottles which contain an element called bisphenol A, BPA, and BPA is known to mimic estrogen in the bloodstream if it gets into the water. And if it mimics estrogen in the bloodstream, if you're a woman, it can treble your chances of picking up the feminine cancers. It can make your body believe you're in the early stages of pregnancy, so you'll find it's much, much harder to lose weight. And if you're a man, it gives you man boobs and makes you infertile.
Oh my God.
And a 25-year-old man in Great Britain now has a lower sperm count than an 85-year-old did in the 1920s.
Oh my God, that's disgusting.
Well,
That's ridiculous.
Germany banned BPA in 1962, incidentally.
Have they still banned it?
Oh, aye. Yeah, because they probably like their population a bit more than we do.
Mm.
And I always found when I've been to Germany that there's more of a focus on actually fixing things, rather than maintaining and managing the illness.
But come on, the UK ran on creating fictitious money. If we didn't create the money, what would we have? We've got no industry, we've not got the steel, we've not got the coal, we've not got the wool mills, we've got no industries at all. No. The only way that this country can create money is by providing a service.
Oh, absolutely.
That's all. Yeah. Creating things to charge you for. Like, if you drive down that lane, I'm going to charge you £100 a pop.
Yes,
all the time. So they're creating jobs, really, and all of them are to pick up money.
It's all middlemen. It's all putting in unnecessary things, and health and safety is another fine example of it. I think that health and safety has a role to play the way things were done years ago. But now you've got this huge body that wants to keep on going, and what it has to keep doing is looking around to see anywhere else where there's a potential risk. And then you end up with all these various experts, telling people the right way to pick up a box, or the right way to climb a ladder, and you get a little diploma at the end of it. And they're all meaningless training sessions. I know people that are in the training industry, they quite openly talk about bums on seats. Yeah.
Well, that's what they said in the college, in the university.
Yeah.
They're only looking for bums on seats.
Yeah, because that's how they make their money, is they can come up with some meaningless little training course and then get insurance companies to insist that everybody has that certificate.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's a new hoop people have got to jump through and pay for.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't exist before, and certainly doesn't make people any better. I mean, one of the instances was stopping the window cleaners from climbing up to the first floor unless they had somebody footing the ladder or they were using a single stage of scaffolding.
Yeah?
Yeah. So now there's more people getting injuries with hauling the scaffolding around than ever did climbing up ladders.
Ludicrous. I remember my dad was a bricklayer, all right, and I remember in the 70s when they started to build the houses with wooden frames.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was a brickie.
Oh, right.
He was going mad.
I bet he was.
Absolute mad. He says, I don't give a monkey's what the date of that wood. They will never preserve wood for hundreds of years, ever.
They're not interested.
They're no interest. My son's got a new house. It's just been built 2 years ago, and the rooms are that small. You cannot get a double bed in one of them, and they're supposed to be 3 double bedrooms.
So it's a box room then?
It's a box room.
Yeah.
And like Lord Froud said about the bedroom tax, if it's less than 10 feet by 15 feet, you cannot call it a bedroom. You can call it a courtroom, a computer room, a laundry room, any room you want, but you cannot call it a bedroom. The things that children have got today have got to fit in a bedroom.
Yeah.
And my wee granddaughter's bedroom, that if you had to put a double bed in, you wouldn't even be able to walk round the bed.
Yeah.
It would be almost wall to wall.
They're tiny.
Absolute disgusting.
I know
and they're
some
getting away with
people
that.
have been able to call it a prayer room, but I haven't met any Christians yet that have been able to do that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Well,
One rule again.
one rule
Two
again.
sets of rules.
2 sets of rules, that's what we're always working to.
Yeah.
And the issue is, Al, how are we going to get away from it? What are we going to do to put a stop to it? Because the general public really don't know, because Billy used to say when we were going to these places and I was arguing with the woman all the time, or the guy, whoever was dealing with me, and Billy said, look, they don't know, they're just told what to do.
Yeah.
They've got a set of rules, A, B, C, D, E, and
Yeah.
they've got to tick all the boxes. That's all they know.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
don't need a
You-
mind, don't need a brain for that, just A, B, C, D, E. And if they don't tick all the boxes, you cannot help them. So I said, well, he said, you need to take the legislation to them. So I went down to Glasgow City Council, and it was about council tax, right? And I said, no, pal, that's not how it is. It says that you've got to do this, that, and the next thing. He went, no, that's wrong, you're wrong. I said, well, you go and get your legislation, mate, because I brought mine with me.
Did
And
they
he
have
looked
it?
at me, and he went, I don't know where to get that. I said, well, wait and I'll give you my copy then, and you take it to your boss.
Yeah.
And you read the legislation that's been set
Yeah.
by the government that you're telling me you're following. And he came back and he went, I'm really sorry, but we didn't know that.
Yeah, because they're just repeaters at the end of the day, and you know this is where the dehumanisation comes in, because they're very, very well paid for what they're doing. And I have to say, I've found that a lot of people that are working in the dealing with the public now are nasty. They're actually quite nasty now, a lot of them. They get a kick out of it. There's a certain amount of job satisfaction. I had an incident about 8-9 weeks ago where we were in town sitting having breakfast, and there were 5 traffic wardens came in. One of them was a woman, 4 guys, and the woman was merrily regaling how this Asian gentleman didn't have any change, and she'd given him 30 seconds to go and find some, and that she'd watched him running about to different people, and as he got back with the money to put it in the meter, she said too late and stuck a ticket on his car.
Yeah, but you do know she's got to collect 15 tickets a week to cover her wages.
Yes, but the point is that all 5 of them thought that was hysterically funny.
Oh, of course they did.
And that's scary. This is the dynamics of what happens when people get into groups. It's called the dynamics of organisational behaviour. Once you start to put people into little gangs, they'll start off with the best intentions, but ultimately they form their wagons in a circle.
I know a guy who was a traffic warden, and he needed to produce X amount of tickets, and if he didn't, he'd get pulled into the office because he wasn't doing his job.
Yeah, numbers again.
Numbers, and it was just to make the money. Because look, when you've got these places that are creating money, like the police have got to give out so many fines to get tickets. Somebody I know got stopped, and the police apologised and said, I'm sorry, but I'm finishing in 10 minutes and I need another ticket. And then just as they were giving that person the ticket, somebody zoomed by and he went, I wish they'd went by before you, but I'm sorry, I'll give you it now.
Yeah, this is the other side of it, that so many of the people who unfairly enforce these ridiculous rules tell you if it was down to them, if it was down to me, I wouldn't do it. So what they're doing is they're basically admitting that they're morally bankrupt, because at the end of the day, if they're doing something that they wouldn't personally do because they're getting paid for it, as far as I'm concerned, they've sold their soul. They've sold their soul. They don't, you don't have to have a coven or put a pen, a pentagram on the floor. If you're going to shit on people, excuse the French, purely and simply because somebody's paying you enough to do it, then hang your head in shame.
Aye, but they're not just paying you to do it. They're telling you if you don't do it, you're going to lose your job.
Ah, totally,
that's the problem.
Yes.
That's where people that's where people should be saying, here, hold on, I'm supposed to be a police officer. Yeah. I'm supposed to be working for the people.
Yeah,
I'm supposed to be in the council assisting the people to get the right benefits.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what it should be.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be in ATOS to make sure the people who are the scammers get signed off and the people who are sick don't even have to come to a meeting. But time and time again, the people who have got illnesses that are not going to go away, they're just going to get worse.
Yeah.
The doctors say they're degenerative conditions that can't get better.
And they're put through the mill anyway. Yes.
But that again is because that creates assessments that creates money for ATOS to go round, and it's just a money making article again.
Yeah.
Everything they do and everything they touch is all about making money.
Absolutely.
Glasgow Sheriff Court or Hamilton Sheriff Court or Ayr Sheriff, doesn't matter what court you go to, the Court of Session, all of these courts have got sheriffs to pay, they've got judges to pay, and they're on whopping salaries, Court of Session, £160,000 a pop a year.
I believe it, yeah.
Yeah. I was in the Court of Session in one day was $4,500.
It's ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous.
So I see that, as a party litigant in the courts, you might as well forget it. If they call the case, you've lost your case, because when you're no losing, they pull out. They shouldn't be allowed to pull out. If they start a case and they're going to lose, they should be made to go through with that case. That would stop them bringing cases to the court, but the court can't have that, because if the court stops all the cases coming, they're not going to make the money they need to pay other judges. So it's a circus again, so it's just...
I mean, at the end of the day, everybody that's involved in the legal profession wants to end up sitting up there as a judge. So they've all got a final destination there, whether they're defence or whether they're prosecutor. They're all in the same gang, ultimately.
Of course aye.
So...
I mean, you think you're going into court and you're going to get a fair hearing. There isn't anything fair about it. I went with a guy and it was an eviction, a repossession of the house for for housing arrears, right? He shouldn't have owed any money because he should have been on benefits, right? Mm-hmm. But when he gave him his benefits, he had no income to pay the rent and he shouldn't have owed anything. And when we got to the court, the judge said, oh, no, decree granted. Yeah. And they said, expenses. And I said, we'll take the expenses as taxed. Because that's what they always said. At the time, I didn't even know what that meant, right? And the judge looked at me and he went, sorry? I said, we'll take them as taxed.
And he said, you realise that'll cost you more money? I said, well, I don't know how it can cost me more money. I says, because it should be the same money as what you. He says, no, we've got an agreement with the council that every single person that comes in here, they get £320. So they two have already done a deal. The judge and the council have already done a deal to charge you £320. And me, the wee lawyer, like a jack in the box, every 2 or 3 seconds is earning £320 for the council.
Yeah.
And the judges have sanctioned it. So you see, you're lost there again. You get into court thinking you're going to get a fair hearing. There's nothing fair about them. They're a bunch of gangsters. And they think we're the gangsters. They're the thugs, thieves and gangsters.
It's called projection.
Projection?
Yeah. All the things that you really are, you accuse everybody else of being.
Oh, right.
So you get in first then.
So I'm a thug, thief and gangster.
They get in first, and then if you say anything about them, they go, oh no, we called you that first, you're the problem. And you see it going on in all walks of life, and it's all to do with the ego at the end of the day, and it come back to what Gabon Mate said, that these are the emptiest people of all these people that live in this corporate Wall Street type shark, world. I've got they don't have humanity. They're empty vessels, and they're trying to fill it up with material possessions, and they buy.
But when they die, they can't take with them anyway.
Listen, I was in Lidl a few weeks ago down in Postle Park, and there was a young girl there that I spoke to that was working in there, and she was very posh. And I went, oh, you're very posh for Postle Park. And I said, do you notice much of a difference between working here and working over in Bearsden? And she said, yeah. She said, people pay with money here. We never see money in Bearsden.
You're joking?
No. Because they can't get enough. So they're all mortgaged up to the hilt, and they've all got credit cards up to the hilt, and they still need to have more because they've got to have a bigger house than that person next door.
I remember Billy's sister years ago. She had a shop and all that, right? And I remember our washing machine broke, and she bought a new washing machine. And I says, why did you not just get your washing machine fixed? Surely it's cheaper to fix it than to buy a new one. And she says, no, I can afford to buy a new one, but I can't afford to pay to get it fixed. I says, that doesn't make sense to me, hen. Yes. And she said, what's that? I've got a card. You should put it on credit, like 6 months interest free or something.
Yeah.
Or she would pay interest on the credit card. Yeah. But like that, she was up to the eyeballs with mortgages and keeping up this facade of having material possessions, when in reality, she was struggling to feed herself.
Yeah.
It's
sad.
Aye.
It's sad.
And I couldn't work that out, and I was like, it took me years and years to work out, how could you possibly be able to afford to buy one without fixing it, right up until I had an accident and I couldn't go to work.
Yeah.
And it was like easy to pay like that. You pay it on a credit card, but you had no cash to pay.
Well, I saw an ad on the telly a few weeks ago, and it was a woman coming out of her house. I think her husband had gone to work. She'd come out of the house for the school kids to take them to school, and the boiler had packed in.
Oh, that's right.
And she was panicking. She had to phone Quick Quid, right, which is owned by Barclays Bank, I believe, and borrow money, right, at 1,440% interest, which in my day when I was getting brought up, people would have gone to jail for being loan sharks for charging those. And even though her and her husband were both working, they would still have to borrow money at exorbitant rates just to fix a boiler. And that's acceptable?
No. It's not acceptable. It became accepted behaviour.
This is the propaganda. You see other people see that and think, well, okay then. If they're struggling as well, it must be okay.
No, it's not okay to struggle, and people need to get back to basics, I've got somebody as well it's like, well, a 65-inch telly's no big enough, I want a 75-inch. Wow, what?
Yeah.
And my daughter's going, I'm working all these hours and I can't afford a 75-inch telly. Well, Laura, don't talk rubbish. If you really wanted a 75-inch telly, you could go and buy one tomorrow. So she's talking rubbish, do you know what I mean? It's just not a necessity for her. But I remember years ago when my kids were wee, and people who weren't working, my kids used to say, Al, how come you can't afford it and my auntie so-and-so can afford it and she doesn't work and you and my dad work? Yeah. And I'm saying, well...
She would be going up to somewhere like Bright House.
That's exactly what she did do. She had probably loan, she'd all sorts.
Because the thing is about, when you look at the poorer end of the market, people don't care how much something ultimately costs.
No.
They care about how much it costs per week and whether they can cover that. And God bless them.
I know.
95% of them are absolutely, they're very, very good with their money. As a matter of fact, when you look at the stats for debt repayment, the highest level of debt repayment is in the poor areas.
Mm-hmm.
And the highest levels of tax are in the poor areas, because poor people have a tendency to want to get things that will make them feel better in the here and now, with less regard for how it's going to make them feel tomorrow. So they'll be spending lots of money in booze, which is about 85% tax, and cigarettes, which is about 85% tax. They have to go to local little, convenience stores where all the food is extortionately priced. They'll buy lottery tickets at the moment in the poorer areas. 9% a week of people's disposable income is spent on buying lottery tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a staggering
Well,
amount.
where my son stays, there's not really much shopping, right? There isn't many shops. You've got a Spar and a Co-op, right? And every time I go to that Co-op, I'm at least 20 quid. Last week I said, here, hold on, son, I don't shop like this. I shop bulk, I go to Costco and I'll buy a big bag of toilet roll, I'll buy a big bag of kitchen roll, I'll buy the biggest bag of soap powder, and he's like, here, hold on, ma, where am I supposed to store that? I says, I don't give a monkey's where you store it, but I cannot afford to shop the way you shop.
Yeah,
it's too expensive.
And people can't afford to.
It's too expensive, but I'm fortunate because I've got a Costco card, and I could go and put the money out at the one time. But I'm saving a fortune. Yeah. Just the same as going to the school and paying for the kids' school meals. It cost 74 quid to pay for the school meal from now, or was it £84, might have been £84, from now until the 21st of December. But that saved me money because I was giving them £4 a day. Yeah. In the school I could only pay a maximum $2.30. Cheers, saved myself some money.
We're back to this business of, if you've got money...
If you've got it, you're okay, so that's it. That's how the rich folk are all right.
It becomes cheaper. The people that pay the premium are the people that are on their own, and elderly people who can't drive. They're all penalised, and we've got this Greek culture now, the whole buy one, get one free thing, which is encouraging people to buy more than they need. I read an article recently that said the West actually throws away more food than it would take to feed the world.
That's shocking. But you know the difference with me and my family, Al? See me and my there's 5 years, right? There's only 4 years now, because Billy died. But see the 4 years, all our money goes together. You know what I mean? So
but that's the way it used to be in the old days.
That's the way it used to be, and that's the way I still operate.
We had families and we had communities, and now we've got televisions.
So if I needed something which, if it wasn't for my kids helping us out, we would have been stuffed, because me and Billy had no income, as you know, for 2008.
Well, this is why people in other cultures, like the Asian culture, where the extended family is the order of the day. It works so well because it is economical. If there's a lot of people in one house, there's only one heating supply. There's only one lighting supply.
One rent. One council tax.
And we've got a situation now, I believe, something like 60% of people live on their own now. Which is hideously expensive for them. And, not good. Not good for the future. No. And not good
for your mind either, Al. It drives me crazy. Absolutely drives me crazy. I cannot see how anybody could say it's excellent, shutting your front door at 6 o'clock at night and that's it to tomorrow.
Oh, bliss.
My sister loves it, and I go,
it's my dream come true.
No, but it wouldn't, I guarantee you, if and when that day ever comes, you will not like it.
Yeah.
Okay. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
Because it's not a good place to be.
It depends where you come from.
It depends on the person.
Yeah. Well, it depends. There's a huge difference between being alone and being lonely. Because being alone is a choice, and being lonely isn't a choice.
Well, I wouldn't say that I'm lonely. I just don't like in a house myself.
Because you don't like feeling lonely.
I don't feel lonely because I phone people. I'm never off the phone.
But then you've just got, well, you're not lonely then, are you?
You know, it's just going into that house, initially going into that house yourself.
Okay, but if you were busy, right, and there's people talking at you and you're dealing with all these issues, and you go home one night and you go, I'm switching that phone off and I'm locking that front door, you're on your own, but you're not feeling lonely, and that's what I'm saying. Being alone is a choice, whereas being lonely, especially for older people, and again, there's nowhere for older people to go.
Nowhere.
It's heartbreaking.
Nowhere.
They just sit in their living rooms in front of TVs all day long with their central heating on, drying out, essentially. They're drying out. This is why it's so many old people get ill. It's literally dehydration.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely not a good place, Al.
It's terribly sad.
See, I'm fortunate because obviously I got to 60 without ever being on my own, because I came from a big family. I'm no on my own, but I'm living in a house on my own.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm in the house 10 minutes, not at 10 hours, Al, as you know.
Yeah.
I'm hardly there. And when I get to that point, I pick myself up, I dust myself down and I move on, right? I don't allow myself to get depressed or sad or anything like that about it. I'll go and do something about it. But I can't see how anybody would think that is a good way to live. It's an existence, it's not a life.
I know a lot of people who are successful in the corporate world who do live on their own, and a lot of them live in some fairly big houses, and work ridiculous hours to be able to afford to live in this big empty house that they don't get back to till maybe 8, 9 at night. And they've usually got their little bottle of wine or two with them as well. And their whole life seems to be around...
Their work?
Well, just trying to build up material possessions all the time.
Or just get company out?
Well, no, because they're quite happy to be on their own. But they've got this drive to, I don't know...
Have material possessions?
Essentially, it's sad to see. It's sad to see people so focused on, I've got to get out there, I've got to get the latest car, I've got to get the biggest shiny box, and they don't have a life. It's this constant, chasing the dream.
But what dream? What is the dream? Surely just to be healthy and happy. It should be the dream.
Yeah, well, if again, looking at stats, certainly in the upper management level, it would seem to be that 1 in 4 is an alcoholic, but they don't do any breathalyzing when they turn up for work in the morning, no drug testing for them, and a whole load more of them are taking various other substances because of the pressure of their work. Mm-hmm. So the quality of life as far as having things concerned looks great, but the level of happiness and contentment is almost...
Zero?
Yeah.
Or minus?
Yeah.
No, I would rather be skint and happy than loaded and miserable.
Yeah, I think
and I'm a people person now.
Yeah.
I do like people, to be with people, and I do like to talk, to talk for Scotland, so...
I think we can both do that.
So
maybe we need to. I wonder what the authors of the Declaration of Arbroath would think of our once great country now.
Oh, turning in their grave. It's a disgrace, absolute disgrace.
And it's not getting any better, is it?
No.
It's hard to say there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
No, I can't see any light at the end of the tunnel. In fact, when I was at my friend's, her husband had put on I don't even know if he'd put it on or it just came on. And you know the way sometimes it's like there's a magnet in the telly, because I don't have a telly in my house, I don't turn the telly on or anything, and I happened to turn round just at the point where the MP was bribing the investor was bribing the MP to introduce a certain law so that he could make money.
Aye.
Right? And it was in the 18th century. And I looked at that and I thought, my friend said it was pole dart or pole dust or something like that, but I didn't even know the name of the programme, or film, whatever it was. And I said, this has been going on as far back as the 18th century.
Forever.
So it's been going on forever. And yet we're trying to wake the people up and educate the people.
What about the Union of Parliaments? I mean, all the lords that voted for us to, tie up with England were all bribed. We've actually got a list of the monies that they received. And I was staggered to read the other day that at the time that came about, there was only 13,000 people living in Glasgow.
Right.
So there couldn't have been that many people in the whole of Scotland when they decided to give it over to Westminster. And I do know that according to things I've read in the history books, that for up to 6 months after that, there were riots in the cities because people were outraged that they wanted to run their own country, no big surprise there, and that they had to send up the yeomanry from London and the army from Edinburgh to beat some sense into all the unhappy people who never got a say in the future governing of their country, just the lords. And yet it still stands to this day that a few people who have made a decision based on corruption, and everybody since then is paying the price.
And that's the same as the EU. They're all unelected officials.
Yeah.
Nobody voted them in.
Well, it's this business of getting a gang together, that all the governments agree that they're all going to get together, and then the directives kind of thrown back to us after the fact. That now we've got an MSP, and we've got a UK MP, and we've got a Euro MP.
That's 3 lots of wages.
Yes. Oh, yes, and expenses. Don't forget the expenses.
So you can see why they need so many fines.
Yeah, absolutely.
If they could bottle up the fresh air and charge you, they would.
It'll probably come.
Yeah, I know.
So what do you think it is then? Why do you think we're falling so far? Do you think it's because we don't have a Christian country anymore? I mean, even our flag, the saltire, is our saltire relevant anymore?
I wouldn't say so, because there's just that much paedophilia in the churches and chapels. Look at all the stuff that's coming out about.
And greed.
And that's exactly, it's man's greed. It's man himself that's destroyed the country. And nobody is prepared to forgo the money to do the right thing. They're only interested in themselves. Yeah. And it's this, I'm looking after me, I'm all right, Jack, stuff the rest of you.
Yeah, and this comes back to faith. And once upon a time, people had some fairly serious beliefs in Judgment Day. And
well, you all have Judgment Day.
And being accountable. And that's all gone now. I mean, that flag, that blue flag with that white cross, is really to signify how St Andrew was crucified. He was crucified in an X shape because he refused to be crucified in the same way as Christ. It's that significant, and yet, these days it means nothing to people.
Well, I didn't even know that.
Well, there you go. Did we just get a wee message in there? I heard the bleepy noise.
No, it's not there. So.
Right, okay. So we moved well away from 5G and smart meters and putting the worlds to right. What do you think about the flat earth?
I don't really know anything about the flat earth other than what Billy had talked about. As far as he's concerned, it couldn't possibly be round, because that would mean the water would be going round
stuck to a ball. Yeah. Water would be shaping itself to an object.
Water can't go up the way, no matter what you do to the water, you're not going to make it go in a ball, go up and down. It's impossible.
Yeah. Okay, because it's certainly come back in the last few years, and I get involved in it initially because I thought these people are off their heads. I'm quite a clever guy. I'm going to go in there and sort them out.
And prove them wrong.
And after a few weeks, I had to admit that I couldn't prove we were standing on a big ball that was whizzing round at 900 miles an hour and barreling round the sun at 19 miles a second while the sun pulls us and the rest of the planets at 666,000 miles an hour through the Milky Way galaxy. It's crazy.
Aye.
But I've always believed it because at that time I was taught that people would be honest. And now I don't know if there's any honesty.
No, I would say there isn't. I would say you cannot believe a word they say. Whatever they say they're doing, look the other way to see what they're actually doing.
Aye.
You know, see this Brexit, right? I see that as just being something just to divert the people so that they can make big changes that nobody notices. And that's the problem. See this universal credit, Sal? That's been talked about for a good number of years now.
This is a global thing. I've got a cousin in Switzerland and they've already started making universal payments to them.
Right.
Right. And to me...
Do you have an offshore account in Switzerland?
Well, I think that what's going on here is that they're essentially, they gather all the money in, right, and then they chuck it out as pocket money.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really what they want to get to, is a point where you won't need to go and sign on anymore because there aren't any jobs anyway. They'll just give you your pocket money every month. That's it. And then you can go and spend and keep everything going. And ultimately, there will be digital money, and ultimately, that digital money will be in a chip, in an RFID chip.
Well, if you don't want an RFID chip, whatever it is.
Well, you're not going to have any money then. Because that's what they're moving towards. They want everybody to have their own dog tag. It's almost like we're living on a farm, the way we're being treated.
That's just like a slaves.
Well, it is. And there's an argument that essentially, we're wage slaves.
Well, the majority are wage slaves.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, I'm waiting on my pension. I'm a pensioner, but they stole my pension money. I'm 60. My contract was you go to work when you're 16, you retire when you're 60. In a year and a half you move to goalpost. So you see, what they say today, they can change tomorrow.
That's right, because it's a different gang.
It's a different gang.
And life doesn't mean life anymore. I know people that have got major disabilities. I've got a lot of friends that have been major, born with these disabilities. They're never going to get any better. They've been told that their benefits are for life, and now they're not.
I know. They just reassess it because they've changed the system.
Yeah.
But again, that's because they've brought in a system where they need money to pay all these people, and they've got to create jobs. I see that as being job creation. Just so that they can create a job to pay the people so that they've got money to go and spend out in the society and buy up all the fancy toys that they're producing for them.
Absolutely. I spoke to a merchant banker a few years ago and I said to him, money's starting to devalue now, isn't it? The pound's going down against the dollar and the euro. And he said, we look on it like it's like a river. He said, so we're not really interested in the value, just as long as the river keeps moving.
Well, there you go. Keep bringing in the money. Yeah. Ching, ching, ching. So you see, I'll give you a job, but I'm paying you, but because I'm paying you, I need to create all these things to make you pay me back. So I'm giving you one hand and I'm taking it off you in the other hand.
It's all about busyness.
Yeah.
Keeping people
busy so they can't see what they're up to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's keep them occupied. It's there. What's your occupation?
Yeah.
And that's it. You just keep people running around and ever diminishing.
Headless chickens.
Yeah. And that's it's a fantastic way to control people, control the herd, keep spooking them, keep them distracted, keep them worried, and keep them, more importantly than anything else, at each other's throats. So start up a football team, start up a rival football team.
Yeah.
You know, always create the opposite, you know, both ends of it.
Well, that's actually what they did with Billy and David. See, when Billy and David went into the court one day, there was 2 reporters, right? And Big Lorraine says to me, "That's reporters." And I went, "Eh?" She went, "Aye." So I leaned over and I said, "Are you a reporter?" She went, "Yes." I said, "Who called you in?" "The court." I said, "The court called you in?" "Yes." So I says to the other guy, "And who are you?" "I'm a reporter." I said, "Who called you in?" "I don't know," he said. He was for the Daily Record. He says, "I don't know." He says, "I just got a note on my desk that I had to go to the court tomorrow morning because there was 2 men in court and a woman was representing them and none of them had any legal knowledge at all." You see, balancing the scales. They called their reporter in, so they had to call somebody for us. So the court must have called the Daily Record because it wasn't us. Now, if I had phoned the Daily Record and said, "Can you come to the court?" they wouldn't have came. So you see how it's all a big scam? They were making it look like I had got a fair, or he had got a fair hearing.
It's called controlling the narrative. Yeah, and it's very well calculated. I mean, they use techniques like the Delphi technique, and if people haven't heard of the Delphi technique, please have a look at it. It's a way of manipulating people to basically go down the route that they want you to go down, but it's very devious. It was worked out by the Rand Corporation in the 1960s to encourage the Yanks to go to war with Vietnam, but it's used everywhere now. I talk to academics a lot. They all know what the Delphi technique is. They say it's a training method. I say it's a method of divided control. But please have a look at, just Google Delphi technique, and then you might, you maybe recognise a lot of the mechanisms and the way these people in authority tend to talk to you. Certainly tend to take out anybody that's outspoken.
Oh, definitely.
Very, very quickly.
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe they took Princess Di out. So if they could take her out, they could take him out.
Sure, but this is just a psychological mechanism for them to basically, they've got their plans, but they have to have a public consultation. So they advertise to have a public consultation, and when the people turn up, they break them into small groups, and these groups don't get to hear what every other group's discussing, and every group has, if you like, a facilitator, somebody on the inside. Yeah. And then people say, right, well, what happens from this consultation? They say, "Oh, don't you worry, we'll all get together and we'll compile all this information." Yeah, and that's exactly what they do. They go away and they just compile it any way they like. But in the meantime, if you've got anybody that's going against the grain, and instead of them being in a room where maybe there's 150 people that would say, "Yeah, that makes sense, I agree with that guy," you're sitting at a table where there's 6 other people.
Yeah.
And they just put you down right away. They just slap you down, or they change the circumstances of what you're talking about. And it's very clever, it's very manipulative, and it's very real. And it's in every walk now.
Well, see, before Billy died, all he kept saying to me was, "Theresa, stop judging. Everybody has their own reward." Because I wanted to get revenge, if you like, on the people who done wrong and told lies in courts and all the rest of it. And because they did tell lies, I showed the court the lies they told, but the court accepted it anyway. And I wanted to do something to the people who came into the court and told the lies, because as far as I'm concerned, they should have been held to account.
Yeah.
Right? And Billy just kept saying, "No, don't worry, everybody gets their own reward." Now, the reward, the person I wanted to get punished was progression. Up the ladder,
Yeah.
And I wrote to the Law Society and I said, "Is that what you do? Commit fraud and corrupt the courts and you get promoted and a wage rise?" And
Well, that's the system. The system rewards the undeserving and punishes those that are striving to be independent and you know.
Yeah, but the universe will kick in and kick their arse, as far as I'm concerned.
It's always the same. I spoke to a self-employed guy the other week, and he told me that he was called into an inland revenue investigation where he went into a room in Glasgow, and an Asian woman, the very first words out of her mouth were, "I can fine you £500, you know." That was the first words out of her mouth, and that was her setting the scene. And when she went through his books, she said to him, "Have you got a mobile phone?" And he went, "Yeah." And she went, "Well, you don't have it down here." And he went, "Yeah, but I pay for it myself." And she went, "Yeah, but it's all got to be declared." And he says, "But I'm not looking for any relief on it." So that's not the point.
You kidding me?
No, they're looking for anything. But look, remember, at the end of the day, they don't have
money.
any money.
They've got loads of money. They've got loads of money.
Yeah.
They've got loads of money.
But I tell you what they've got. They've got a target.
Aye, they've got targets, aye.
And that's unbelievable as well, you know.
But targets are you can never make a target. Because if the target today is £1,000 and you make it, they'll make it 1,500 next month.
For sure, but the issue is that, you know, what is that target that you produce? What does it consist of? Is it fairly done? Or are you just leaning on people and taking advantage? Of course I'm leaning on people. I listened to the boss of the HM Revenue and Customs a few months ago on a Radio 4 interview, and the girl said to him, "Do you know there's large amounts of people in the UK are receiving these horrendous tax demands from your organisation and telling people they've got 14 days to pay up or else?" She said, and it's often turning out that they're going through all this fret and worry and they don't actually owe anything. What do you feel about that? And he said, and I think this old chap, God bless him, must have been about 80, very polite. But he said, well, you know, we've got 80,000 people working for us. You can't expect them all to do their jobs in a diligent and honest and trustworthy manner.
Yes, I do.
And I thought, why not? You know,
they're all getting paid to do a job, they should be doing it in a trustworthy manner.
And of course, the reality of the situation is, since I spoke to this chap that was the window cleaner, I've spoke to 2 or 3 other people that have had exactly the same experience, because they're bullies. They're going to hit the poor all the time. They're going to intimidate all the time, and they're going to keep getting away with it until, you know, there's no point of return for us. We really will just become, you know, drones.
Yeah.
And it's a terrifying prospect.
The majority is already drones, I'm afraid of.
What do you think about Facebook?
Hate it. I've came off Facebook. Came off Facebook because originally I think it was good, and the guy who set it up, that Zuckerman or something?
Mark Zuckerberg.
I think he set it up for the right reasons, for people to talk and chat and all the rest of it. But since the government have taken it over, it's just another spy mechanism, as far as I can see.
There's a lot of people think it was always a CIA information gathering exercise. One of the big problems I've got with not just Facebook but all of social media is when you hear the original developers of it turn round and say that they knew that when they set this up, people would react to getting little thumbs up and little ticks by getting a dopamine hit in their brain, and therefore they would become physically addicted to it. The guy says, we knew it would do this, but we went ahead anyway.
Well, that's the same as the mobile phones. Yeah. Mobile phones release dopamine in your brain every time you use them. Yeah. That's why the kids are all addicted to them.
Yeah.
I think social media is causing a major problem with the youngsters. I think mobile phones should be banned for children under 16, and I think internet should also be banned for children under 16.
Yeah.
But the problem is the mothers are buying the phones because they're under pressure with their kids.
Yeah, and this is where again.
And fathers, you know what I mean?
We're back to.
I know a friend that's got a bus company, and he said that a wee kid on his bus deliberately smashed his phone because the new iPhone came out, and his dad would only buy it if his phone was smashed, and that's exactly, he smashed his phone, the next day his dad went and bought him the new iPhone.
I know, it's crazy. And I mean, I'm a radio engineer, and I know for a fact that, you know, mobile phones are indeed little microwave ovens.
Mm-hmm.
And the tests that they do in the States, the safety checks in America and in the UK, are based around thermal increases. So they only measure increases in heat.
Right.
What they don't look at is the dangers of the ionising radiation, which other countries do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's interesting that we've got cell masts everywhere. We've got them in schools, we've got them in supermarkets, we've got them in churches. If you go to Scandinavia, I believe the nearest you can be to a cell phone mast is 5 kilometres.
Mm-hmm.
So again, safety's out the window because the rewards are so huge for
the minority.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because the majority are being fried. Hi, what I've started to do is put my headphones into my phone.
Right. Good.
So that I'm not actually got the phone
Good.
beside my head.
Yeah.
Because what I was finding was when I was talking on the phone, my head was starting to get sore. So I was getting headaches. I've never suffered from headaches, but I was starting to get headaches and the phone was getting warm.
Because you're cooking your brain.
Yep, the phone was getting warm. The heat off the phone, you could have fried an egg in it.
Yeah.
You know? So I started putting my headphones on. But obviously if I'm outside I can't do that. You can't walk about. Well, I suppose I could, but I don't feel a bit stupid. I suppose that's the problem, isn't it? We're all vain. Oh. I don't want to look stupid, I don't want to feel stupid, because I actually would like to walk about with one of the masks on over my face.
That would be sensible.
Everybody would look at me and think I'm stupid. Do you know what I mean? But I would still like to do it. So I would.
Yeah. Well, they do in Japan.
I think I'm going to go and get one now.
They do in Mexico.
Well, see in Chinatown.
See
in Chinatown up in Glasgow.
Mm-hmm.
Just at the townhead area.
Mm-hmm.
That I've seen people.
I saw a guy
in
today.
Fact,
yeah.
Cardonal College, I seen a guy coming out, Chinese guy, with a mask over his face.
Yeah, well, I remember a report a couple of years ago that said that the bottom of Hope Street and Argyle Street, you know, just at the railway tunnel, what we call the Hielandman's umbrella, was the second most polluted area in Europe after Regent Street in London.
Oh my God!
Because all the buses and the taxis, and of course, that's where all the homeless, a lot of the homeless are sleeping now, is under that tunnel.
Yeah, well, see in London.
At ground level, so.
Right. See in London, they actually have buses, and see when we went to, was it Rome? Oh, no, I've not been to Paris. I think it might have been Rome that we went to, and the people went on the bus, the homeless people went on the bus at night to sleep, and the bus just travelled around the city.
Oh, wow.
And that's what they've done for their homeless people. They put them on the bus so they're not out in the cold, but they've not got anywhere to put them, so they let them go on the bus and they can just all sleep on the bus, and the driver just drives around the city all night long.
Have you seen a promotion called Sleep in the Park?
No.
Well, there's, I don't know who it is, I haven't looked into it yet, but apparently there's an initiative where they're asking people to go and sleep in Kelvin Grove Park for the night at the bandstand.
And what's that needed?
In support of the homeless.
Right, well we did that, and I took wee Paige with me.
Right.
And we slept, was it Kelvin Hall we were at?
Right.
And we slept in tents. The Wayne loved it, and then they came up and said, you can't have the Wayne here. So what do you mean I can't have the Wayne here? And it was because it was a political thing.
Right, okay.
I said, Wayne, chase yourself. The Wayne loved it. And she was all up for it because she liked it.
Well, we did a thing a few years ago, you know, the Million Man March in Edinburgh, and a lot of people donated food for the food banks, and some of it went to Edinburgh, the rest of it came back here, and we gave it to a project down in the town called the Rucksack Project. And the Rucksack Project was an initiative where people were asked to buy a rucksack and a flask and a flannel and, you know, some toiletries and things that homeless people would need, and give it into the project to be given out to a homeless person. And when obviously the food was going to be going in the rucksacks as well. So when we went down to see them, we said to them, we know there's a catalogue company that's getting rid of a whole load of one-man tents, and we reckon we can get them for next to nothing to give to the homeless, so they've got some shelter. And they said, no, that we don't think our sponsors would like the idea of a tent city. So it just shows you that there's levels again.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm sorry, but I do not fund or promote food banks, because I don't think in this day and age, and with the wealth of this country, Scotland should hang its head in shame for having food banks. We shouldn't be encouraging it. And I think if I put a tin of beans in there, I'm encouraging the government to sanction people. Because if it wasn't for the food banks, there would be people out there doing something about it. And the other thing I don't like about the food banks is you can go with your begging bowl or whatever you want to call it, and you have to have a chitty, and you can only get 3 food banks in a year.
Right.
That's these trusts, which again is the government or the churches or whatever, and you can only get 3 a year. And I've been with people that did go to them.
They get abused.
Yeah, I went with somebody and they give you like a bag of food. They're nice enough, but they don't actually ask you what you like. No. You know, so if you're a vegetarian, they're giving you tins of meat and tins of tuna and all the rest of it that you don't eat. So they don't ask you what kind of food do you like.
Yeah.
You know, do you eat vegetables? So to me, they're just giving you, here, take it. And I mean,
seem to be doing something.
Well, that's not doing anything. That's creating a problem. So I won't fund them. I'm sorry.
And again, the sad part is a lot of these organisations get a lot of funding.
Yeah, of course, they're getting the funding to do it, and they're getting funding to run it again. Yeah. It's jobs for the boys.
And it's open to abuse. And my big concern with it is a lot of the people who would really benefit from the food bank wouldn't go.
No, I would never. I wouldn't go. I would go to my sisters. Or I'm fortunate, Al, and I know I'm very fortunate. I've got a good, strong family network. You know, see when Billy was dying, and see that Friday the doctor came in and said, "You're talking days here." He came to my house like the next day, and he was like, "Wow, my sister'd cut the grass, and you know everybody was there doing whatever." And he was like, "This is what I like to see, a good family network."
Yeah.
And I said, "I told you, I just call in people. If I need help, I'll just put out an SOS. You know, last week my car broke down. I couldn't get the engine to turn. It was the battery was flat. So one of the boys was in the house and his pal was coming to collect him. I said, phone and ask her if she's got jump leads. So we phoned. No, she didn't have jump leads. So she came, took me to see if we could get jump leads. Couldn't get them. Came back. We phoned another one person who then phoned another person. Then somebody else turned up, you know. Yeah. So there was about 10 folk for a jump lead.
That's brilliant, but that's the way it used to be.
That's the way it used to be, but it should still be
like
that.
Old fogies now, but that, no. Everybody's separated now. Everybody is isolated now. They're all in their own little. They're all in their own little universes. Yeah. I mean, even when I've got my kids in the car, it pains me that I've got my kids in the car that I love dearly, and they're all staring into these bloody little screens, and they're all in their own little universes, you know, they're all connecting up with who knows what, but they're not in the here and now.
Nope.
And that's a huge concern.
Well, that's a major concern with mobile phones. I've been in my son's house since like Sunday, and one of my granddaughters, I don't even think I've seen her or sat in her company for 1 hour in 5 days.
Yeah. That's
serious problems to me, you know.
Yeah. But it's what they're used to.
It's the universe. It's their pals. That's
they've
mobile.
got distraction on tap. As a matter of fact, if the battery goes flat, they go mad.
Oh, I do. What's going
to happen when they turn off the internet? We'll have a party.
We'll have a party, aye.
But that would be chaos.
Yeah.
It would be absolute chaos.
And that's the problem, Al. There is nothing in this world that you can get that doesn't belong to the elite. You know, they produce the stuff. it's their internet, it's their radios, it's their banks, it's their money, it's their food, it's their cars, it's their roads, you know. Everything.
Yeah.
It's them that's running it. You know, it used to be, the Billy kept saying it belongs to the people, the electricity and gas is the people's. And if you look at a gas van now, it says, your gas, our network.
Aye.
They changed the slogan on the gas vans to say, your gas, our network.
I know, and that's not true, is it?
No,
it's their gas as well.
It's our gas. And it's our network.
It's a classic example, actually, of job creation that I was involved in when they denationalised everything. I was working with a company called the Hyder Group, and we were to sign people up for, it was a Welsh gas company at the time that was going to supply electricity in the Midlands and take over all the Midland Electricity Board's business. And we were going out and offering people the same electricity, only 22% cheaper. And of course, everybody signed up for it. But the issue was that there's only one national grid. Mm-hmm. There's only one set of, gas pipelines and oil pipelines, and all you've really got, instead of a big pool where all the oil comes out or the gas comes out and it gets shared amongst the people in the country, is you've got a whole load of people now that read your meter and send you a bill, because the infrastructure's the same for everybody, but instead of having one supplier now, they've created all of these various suppliers to generate the idea of competition, when in reality, when they discovered it in 1967, they were telling everybody that we were all going to have free energy for the rest of our lives.
We shouldn't be paying for energy.
No, they stole it.
We should be free.
The same as they steal everything.
They steal everything else. Look at the light bulb, the guy that created the light bulb that never went out.
Mm.
And the electricity comes through, it goes to the light bulb and goes back to there. Because you should only have to pay once to turn it on. There should be no more charge for that meter, for that light.
Yeah.
But what they do is have it going back and forward, back all the time. That was the Enron scandal, was it not? Was whereby what they did was Enron, what they done was they had a pipe. So see when the electricity was going back, apparently what they were doing, if you were British Gas, so it was you that was Scottish Electricity or whatever, then it was you that would have been getting the electricity back. But what they done was they diverted the electricity going back the way.
Mm. Well, there's an argument that it's the flow of electrons that powers things up, and because there is a return, then the electricity is pretty much like a river. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't all get used.
No.
Literally, there's only an element of it. But again, they make the most of everything, don't they? Something that freaked me out just 2 weeks ago, and never even considered it before, was discovering that the European Airbus that carries 900 people apparently carries 100 tons, right? 100 tons of fuel in each wing. 355,000 litres of fuel.
That's impossible.
But it's in the manuals. And again, this is about a smaller version of the flat earth, that you just accept things are the way they are. Until somebody comes along and says, here, I've been checking all the figures here and this doesn't seem to add up. Mm-hmm. And the only explanation that they've got for it at the moment is that it's their way of being able to charge expensive air tickets, because people expect that half the cost of the travel is for fuel.
And it's not.
Well, I can't believe that you could put 100 ton on any aeroplane wing. It's only aluminium. Mm. It just beggars
I don't know
belief.
about you, but I've been on planes where the wee bit flaps up and down.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't see any oil in there.
So could you imagine it bouncing up and down with 100 tons?
No, no chance. No chance.
Would you go up in a plane that had nearly 200 ton of fuel on it?
No.
But apparently that's what it carries, 355,000 litres.
I don't believe that.
And I thought, I kept thinking, maybe the figures are wrong. So I looked up a jumbo jet, and it's got 200,000 litres.
Oh no, I don't believe that.
So again, there's something that everybody's just taken as read. So have a look into that, folks, if there's anybody listening. Have a look at the fuel storage capacity of an Airbus, and tell me whether you think these planes could take off with. I think somebody did a little article and they had 82 Ford Camaros on each wing.
No, that's impossible.
So is anybody telling us the truth?
No, none of them are telling. They're only telling you what they think you want to hear, or what they think
what
they
fits
can bring
in,
you
to justify the money
at the time, because everything they do is to create and generate money.
Yeah.
Everything.
Keep the river flowing.
Yeah, keep the river flowing.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, let's wind it up.
All
then.
right.
Right, guys, thanks for that. Sorry if we wandered off the track, but when we get together, it always ends up like this. So I hope we haven't bored you too much, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Good night.
Bye.
Also,
more about gel coat.
When the fourth round would...
Don't you call in the...
More importantly, he knew what he was talking about.
well, does it look good already? Okay. Jumbo Scampi for limited.
All for a price that will make you...
How the hell am I supposed to pay?
This is Rick Simpson, and you're listening to People for People Radio, the voice of truth in Scotland.